Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everybody, to episode 505 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, found wherever you get your podcasts, be it Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., etc. Leave us that 5-star review if you think we're doing the goods. If not, let us know why, and we will try to up our game, or maybe we'll just tell you to get fucked. Anything's possible. With us today, Steve Wellings and Andy Patterson, who has spent the last month feeling like absolute shit. But Andy, happy to have you back again. Happy to be back again here. It's been a few weeks off. Hope everyone had a fantastic holiday season. Fantastic New Year. Going to get into the action right now on a card that generally was lacking a fair bit of action. Abnormal amount of rounds are boring. Bunch of stuff went to decision. Gervonta Davis started uncorking left hands in the 8th round against Hector Luis Garcia. One of those inhibiting Garcia's ability to see. He quit on his stool in between rounds 8 and 9, following what I saw as a tremendously competitive fight. And Steve just jumped off, of course. Going to make everything fucked up. But Andy, I thought this was an incredibly competitive fight up until that 8th round when Davis really uncorked it. You got to give it to him. I mean, he's taking on top-notch opponents. Hector Luis Garcia is quality. This resume just keeps getting better and better. Ryan Garcia next down the pipeline, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, he gave Davis some work there last night. I thought it was quite close. I didn't really score it as such, but I think it was very, very close. Would have been very close in the cards anyway if I was scoring it. Really felt early doors, at least. Well, maybe not so much early doors, but for maybe a vast majority of the fight, I didn't think he really wanted to mix it, which you can totally understand, considering it looked like that when they did cut loose from time to time, it did seem to be that Davis was getting the more mustard on the shots. He was maybe having the final answer, but to say that Garcia was competitive, which I think he was, they certainly upped their outputs after a certainly quiet first 2, maybe 3 opening rounds. Maybe a little bit more action in the third. The fourth, I thought the output was definitely upped a little bit. Both having successes. I did think Davis started to go on top a little bit late in round 4. Bit of a quiet round in the 5th. Then Garcia landed a few good shots in the 6th, but it didn't really seem to me that what Garcia was landing was really troubling Tank. You might maybe shift him a little bit, but it didn't seem to be he was really bothered as such. And as you mentioned, that left hand that he landed for in the 8th round just for a moment it just turned Garcia to stone. Looked like he was in serious bother. If the round maybe went on a wee bit longer, I think Davis would have definitely dropped him, maybe even stopped him possibly. But obviously then he's quit and he's been pulled out or he's quit. just before the start of the ninth. But from what I could hear anyway, and it wasn't really very clear to me, but I think he'd said in the corner that he couldn't see. If you look at that shot, then the way he took it, it just totally stretched his neck. Plus, it just torqued his head right round. So maybe it's just rewired him some way. Definitely probably a concussion there as such. He just looked absolutely dazed, probably confused. So definitely, if he's not responding as such, the eyes are will tell you a story as well. If they're not focused, pull the guy out. We didn't need accidents. We didn't need deaths in the ring anymore. So, done his best as what he could. Coming up weight as such, but to be honest, I'm not really too factoring in it. The fact is that he was a super feather coming up. If you look at the size difference between the two guys in the ring, I think they were pretty much comparable. I know Tank's coming down for like roughly around for like what 140, 147.
No, he's
walking around weight.
He's walking around weight. I mean, he's won titles 130, 135, 140. Size, I don't know why anyone would even mention it.
Yeah, to be as I say, they look like they were comparable sizes. Moving forward, obviously, we've got to see the bigger fights now, the bigger opponents. We've seen Tank Hovey step up in classes. I was surprised last night actually when I heard, or actually forgot actually that it's 2 years, it's over 2 years since he knocked out Leo Santa Cruz. So the time's kind of went by in that time frame, and he's had his opponents that look good, get the knockouts. He's had these tough fights like Cruz. He's had his hand problems and that as well. But I think now he's had his step up fights gradually. He's 28. I think it's now time for him to step it up. Feasting so much on smaller guys like, as I say, mentioned Santa Cruz and that. But time to focus on like your Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson if possible. Devin Haney's another one as well. These are the fights. Obviously Ryan Garcia, if we can get that one across the line as well. But these are the 3-4 names that we want to see Tank facing over the next 18 months to 2 years. If we can get these fights made, obviously there's politics involved. There's probably network issues and that as well. But we say that where there's a will, there's a way. And if the guys really want it, they'll find a way to get it made.
Yeah, and it seems like Ryan Garcia and Tank is going to happen. Andy, I don't know if you caught this. I think what caught me by surprise is the scorecards at the time of the stoppage. Two of the judges had only given Garcia 1 round.
Wow, I never knew the scorecards because obviously Boxrec never listed them when I seen it this morning. Some of the cards I'd seen basically were either had it level or Garcia up by 1. As I say, I didn't score it, but I had a competitive close fight. As I say, a couple of those rounds, especially the first 2 rounds, there was not a lot of action there. Maybe, as I say, the odd jab. You have to kind of pick basically what you thought maybe landed the more shots, the better shots, the high clearance shots. But certainly those first 2 rounds would be very, very close to score. But just out of curiosity, what round did 2 of the judges give?
I don't know.
Garcia?
I don't know. It's just one of those things they flashed up on Showtime. 2 of the judges had it 79-73. One had it 78-74 for Tank.
78-74. Maybe it's a
2 rounds. So that's I mean, it's, and I'll tell you, for me, like I think that Garcia's corner made a mistake telling him in between the 7th and the 8th. I caught them saying, that he could stand his ground a little bit more, and I think that was a big mistake because what I really saw early on, Andy, that impressed me is I thought Garcia's command of distance was perfect. He was just out of range of Tank, just in range to kind of get his touches in. And I just thought he was winning the battle of foot positioning early on, and then his corner told him to go stand in there, and he got fucking whacked with 3 good left hands, and that was the night.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, round 6, he landed a few good shots, but then there was a couple of rounds, I forget which, but he was standing more in the pocket, more within punching range, and you could see Tank getting the right hands in, the straight left hands in as well over the top. I thought the jab was pretty good by Garcia. Maybe they felt they had to stand in, to be honest, Matty, because obviously you knew with the B side, for them to beat Tank Davis, just look at what the numbers he's doing these days, the ticket sales, that type of thing, and that he is the next star, shall we say, the next cash cow. He knows he's not going to be able to win that fight purely on the back foot. You need to be Floyd Mayweather-esque to be basically beating a guy like Tank Davis if you're going to be fighting. Not so much sporadically, but as I say, there was a lot of moments where there was a lot of jabs, a lot of kind of technical boxing and that as well. And I'm not saying that you look at the fight and you see the guy he's thinking, well, he's won that round clearly in that, and he's been jobbed by some of the judges in some of those rounds, but some of those rounds were close. At the same time, as at moments you're going to have to stand in there and try and dog it, because at some point Tank's going to probably catch up. He has got that game changer. He has got that power. We saw it there last night. Instantly, just turn the guy who was competitively in the fight all night to basically getting pulled out after basically a hellacious left hand right across the chin. So it just shows you, you can be doing absolutely perfectly well. You could be winning that fight 7-0, 8-0, 9-0. Then Tank just turns around with one shot and just that's it. So fair play to both guys, I suppose, in that as well. But it's interesting going forward actually as well, because obviously if we do see Tank step up in class, Lomachenko, Stevenson, Haney, I don't think he's a slow starter. I don't think he can afford to be slow starting with some of those guys, because before he knows where he is, he's going to be chasing that knockout, and what if it doesn't come?
Well, Steve, I think when I look at it, there's two flaws when it comes to Gervonta Davis. One is his activity level. His volume can just be incredibly light, so he can be outworked. And two, he's a shit show. Look at
concentration
the
levels.
Look at the domestic violence accusations that got dropped that happened before the fight. Look at the fight that happened outside of the ring between the 7th and the 8th round, Steve. I mean, I think Gervonta Davis and this world of shit he surrounds himself with are his own worst enemies. I'm not saying like Broner level, because the talent gap between the two is incredible, but I think they have some of the same tendencies when it comes to the bullshit in their lives.
Yeah, first of all, can you hear me okay? My computer.
Yeah, you're groovy. You're groovy.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Well, I don't know. Can he be outworked? That's what I'm wondering. Because he slows the pace right down, doesn't he? Especially last night. It was like a classic Gervonta Davis display. I think he waited very patiently. There was a buzz in the air, just wondering what would happen when he's going to explode whenever he landed the power. And in the 9th round, almost out of the blue, we found out. And I thought the ending was very strange, actually, because I wasn't really paying attention to the commentary, but a short while before he landed those big shots, there seemed like there was a bit of scrap in the crowd. The referee called timeout. The camera panned right on top of the disturbance, which was great. You definitely want to see those things. Don't move the camera away. Let's see what's happening. And suddenly these fellas in green jackets were being escorted out. And that was a bit of it kind of threw people off a little bit. But then that Davis, he clearly buzzed Garcia with a left hand, possibly an uppercut as well. He was about to go down, saw out the round, and then the corner pulled him out. And afterwards, I think he said something like he'd gone temporarily blind in one eye, didn't know where he was. I mean, that is some power there. That is reputable power. And it's the reason I'd make Tank favourite against anyone in and around the weight class. I love the way he slows the pace right down. He dictates the tempo early on. I thought Garcia did a good job of standing off. I haven't heard what Andy had to say about it. But he was almost forcing Davis to commit. He stood tall, upright. The right hand was coiled. He was tempting Tank inside. He did a good job of not buying Tank's feints as well. And he stepped out of range whenever Davis came forward. But for all of his awkwardness, I don't think it ever really felt like Garcia was winning rounds. And I think he was lacking the power to hurt Tank. I mean, let's hope it's Ryan Garcia next. That's the one we want to see. Fantastic fight. I think Ryan's dangerous, but I think that'll be his downfall. He'll walk on to one. And friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, was on to me earlier. He reckons Shakur Stevenson presents some real problems for him. I think that will be the case as well. But I think Jim Gray made an interesting comment in the post-fight interview when he said to Tank, you told us all week that the only person who can beat you is you. How do you stop that from happening? And that's the $1 million question, as you alluded to there. How do we stop that from happening? He's very distracted in the ring, which at the moment doesn't seem to hinder him. Like Calvin Ford, I'm sure he's a great trainer. Well, I was going to say great guy. I think he done about 10 years for cocaine dealing, didn't he, Ford? But is he a trainer? Is he a cheerleader? Is he there to talk to Tank? Tank's looking around all the time for his mom. He's looking up at the screens. Doesn't seem to hinder him at the moment. But against somebody who causes him trouble, it might. But you mentioned, Matty, just at the top there when you brought me in about people outworking him. I haven't seen anybody outwork him yet, really. Whenever they throw, he gets the grip between his teeth and he throws back with them. And I think he's got all the attributes. I think he's an absolute star.
I think, and obviously he figured it out later on in the fight, but I think through the first 6, 7-ish rounds, I think Mario Barrios was doing a lot of what I'm talking about. I think Devin Haney would give him fits. I think Haney is his kryptonite, to be honest with you. When
Do you
I
think
think
so?
of it,
I don't think anybody's his
Long and
kryptonite.
rangy, isn't he?
his
From landing
size,
jab on him.
his size and his length, and if he can get into that comfortable range that I thought Garcia had for probably the first 5 or 6 rounds, I think it's going to be a tougher Tank to catch up with him, honestly.
I know people say Barrios, you are right. He did give him trouble, but he was moving up in weight, and Barrios is a tall guy who's since moved up to 147, and he managed to get hold of him in the end and started just beating the shit out of him with that power that just transcends weight classes. Same with the other Romero. I've heard people saying, "Oh, Romero is out boxing for 4 rounds. A fight's 12 round deep for a reason." As soon as he worked him out, he banged him out. Same as Garcia, same as Leo Santa Cruz. I think he beats Haney. I think Stevenson gives him the most trouble, to be honest. I think he'll get inside Haney. He's explosive. I said this last week. He narrows, or whenever the hell we were on last time, he narrows the distance so quickly and so explosively. I think he'd get in on somebody like Haney. I think Lopez as well. I think Stevenson would give him the most trouble, actually.
I don't know. I don't think Stevenson has the punch. I think he's pretty equally sized to Hector Garcia and is pretty equally blessed in the power category as Hector too. So I don't know. I like I said, I lean towards Haney as being his kryptonite, but we'll see. And I don't think Ryan Garcia is an easy out for him either, especially if Goosen is putting together a really good game plan for him and Ryan can stick to it. But as many problems as Tank has outside of the ring, Ryan has that many problems inside of his own head. So
do you know what I think will give him trouble? What Davis did last night, he slows the pace down and he throws a lot of single shots, and he doesn't throw many shots early on in the fight. Garcia, you notice against Tago, struggled really to get hold of somebody like that. I think the lower output guys give Garcia a little bit more trouble, and I think that will be a lot of problem for him. If you come forward with Garcia and throw with him, then he has a lot more of a chance. But I think Davis will slow the pace down and make it a real one-shot pot. And then Ryan Garcia will end up coming forward, trying to knock him out. And I think that'll be his downfall, personally.
We'll see. Apparently, it seems like it's a go for April from both parties. So hopefully that happens. The lightweight division is absolutely stacked. And, the good news is maybe a few of the fights that we don't see right now at lightweight, we might see at junior welterweight in the future. I think these guys are going to be traveling together through these weight classes, and that's going to be a hell of a blessing for boxing fans. What wasn't a blessing for boxing fans, shockingly, Boots Ennis going the distance. Karen had pretty decent footwork. Karen moved around the ring pretty well. Churchizian? Is that how you said his last name, Steve? Churchizian?
Chukadjian, I think it was.
Yeah, some of that nature. We'll just call him Karen.
Alim Hanula, I think some people call him.
Yep, there you go. But definitely in survival mode over this fight. But he was able to go the distance with Boots. Andy, any of the shine taken off of Ennis after that fight?
Well, I got to admit here, I downloaded the fights this morning, and my copy of the Boots fight cut off after 5 rounds. Didn't come back until 12.
You saw it.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I know.
You saw
it. I think it was pretty, for what I read after, because I had to wait and read the news on it, because obviously I just raging. I couldn't be bothered getting another copy of it. It looked like it was quite repetitive. He was chasing the guy over 12 rounds. Like it was a shutout as well. I'm seeing comments, guys saying he's been exposed, and as you say, the shine's probably been taken off him a little bit. I suppose the only positive thing about it is really he's went 12 rounds. I think with the guy being that negative, especially in the first 5 rounds that I've seen, Boots was having a real problem trying to kind of land anything solid on him, to be fair. So if it went like that right through from round 6 to like round 11, which I missed, then I'm not surprised really if the guy was very negative. It's really hard to try and take those guys out. One fight that comes up in my mind is Joe Calzaghe against David Starry back in the day. Ran like a thief.
Oh, that's one of the worst fights of all time.
One of the worst fights. And as I say, for a guy who I've been really high on, Steve's obviously been not so much critical, but he has mentioned the fact is that he's not having a lot of rounds. So has that been a hindrance? So at least it's 12 rounds in the bank at least. Obviously, people are cooling down a little bit. He's not ready for like the Spence or Crawford. I like to see the Thurman fight. Obviously, we want to see Crawford against Spence. Hopefully, we try and revisit that, and we do get the fight made.
Thurman's better on his back foot than Karen was. He puts his shots. He throws harder shots, and so he could absolutely give Boots fits doing his back foot shit.
Yep. So Ortiz says he's got problems just now because the Stanionis fight's now been postponed for a. And I don't know if we're going to revisit that one. Maybe we could get that fight next, possibly.
Yeah, it's mandatory. But for people that don't know, Stanionis had an emergency appendectomy, so he's on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, he ranks to at least April, which I'd be very, very surprised if he's back in time for that. Like, because an operation like that, you need at least a month off.
Well, you're going to come back after they jack shit out of your insides and have Virgil Ortiz wailing on you.
Yeah,
I might want to tune up.
No chance, absolutely no chance. Just looking up some of the names, obviously the PBC roster, Butaev's there. He'd be a hard night's work, to be fair. Actually, that guy would come looking for him. Very, very rugged, unorthodox way of punching in that as well. But Thurman, obviously, we want to see, Ennis, make headway. Better opponents. As I say, you can't really do much with guys like. I mean, obviously, you want to see him knock out negative opponents and that, but he's never done it. So that's probably a notch against him as such. But to be fair, 12 rounds is the main thing. He knows he can do it now. Whether he can do it at a decent lick is another matter, and obviously up in class and that as well. Did see a lot of people mention last night on Twitter that Spence would have dominated. That was the word that I'd read. The dominated Boots there last night. So was he that poor in between those rounds that I missed that Spence or Crawford would have had their way with him last night?
I kind of disagree with what they're saying on that, because I don't think that Spence would fight in that style. So they're kind of taking a leap. But I do think that Crawford could do a little bit of that and do his Crawford thing as well. After that fight, my personal belief is I'm no longer worried about Boots as a Crawford opponent. But I do think, as far as the styles go, I think that him and Spence it's got war written all over it. But Crawford, I think, would frustrate the hell out of him. Steve, what I caught a lot in there is Boots just swinging wildly out of frustration, and if Karen was a better puncher, he might have been able to take advantage of that better. I see somebody like Crawford frustrating him as long as, landed some hard shots along the way. Man, I think Crawford could bounce into his head real quick in that fight and get him into some serious mistakes.
Boots is a bit of a swinger, though, isn't he? He does that from time to time. Most of the time, we don't see it as much because he's usually banged out substandard opposition by the time we don't get to the later rounds with him. That's the whole point. Before last night, I thought that he would give Crawford and Spence a good fight, but I didn't think he'd beat either of them. Nothing has really changed after that. I think that this is moving towards the kind of fight that Jaron Ennis needed. Going 12 rounds is going to do him no harm at all. He was against a tricky, durable opponent, a guy who could take shots, go a few rounds. I've never seen a fighter move so much and throw so little as old Karen. I mean, fuck me, she even when Chukadzian had Ennis backing up against the ropes, he proceeded to do little shuffle dances through absolutely nothing. Until the later rounds, he started letting his hands go a bit when he had a bit left in the tank in the 11th and the 12th. He had success with the left hook, the jab as well, but both of them were arm punches. Didn't think he could ever hurt Boots. And Ennis had most of his success with the body shots. I think it was around the 9th round, all of a sudden, or the 10th, he had him going with body shots. I thought he hurt Karen with those ones. I don't think Ennis was exposed at all. I'd still pick him to beat Virgil Ortiz, but he did show a few little flaws. Sometimes he throws himself off balance, as you said, those big shots. He turns, he's open, he stands side on for a few seconds at times, and Chukadzian was just too slow to take advantage. But better fighters, like the guys you've mentioned, will dig Boots if he does that. So he is a little bit open. He did take a few shots, showed a good beard, but I don't think this guy was a legitimate puncher at all. And then it could have been to do with frustration. His dad was telling him in the corner to just let your hands go. Does he struggle to make the weight? He says that he doesn't. He still looks like a big enough guy, although his opponent was quite big too. I'd actually like, this might sound daft, but I'd like them to still make the Rashidi Ellis fight. I know we're going to come on to him as well, but I think after their respective performances, it won't happen because they're both going in different trajectories within the IBF now, but I think that fight would still work out somewhat and would be a good next step for Boots rather than throw him in at the top level. Or a Stanionis, but as you mentioned, I think he's high with the WBA as well, but he's out getting an operation at the moment. But yeah, I wouldn't be averse to see him against Ellis or even Villa, who supposedly beat Ellis, although I have my doubts about that.
Well, why don't we get into that fight there, Steve? I enjoyed the heck out of the last half of that fight. The first half was pretty much just Ellis just popping that jab, using his speed, via struggling to close the distance. But my God, in those later rounds, he started to pour it on, close the distance, timing that overhand right. And whether you agree with the scorecards or not, there was one guy in there in the 12th round who was really trying to win that fight, and all credit to his guts and guile, pulling it out. He needed that at least a knockdown on the cards to get the W, and he got it in +1.
Yeah, there was a bit of suspicious refereeing throughout the night. There were some good performances and some dodgy performances, and I know the referee didn't really cover himself in glory, but I'm not sure how the judges came to that conclusion. I thought Ellis boxed really well early on. He was very fast. He was accurate. He knows his way around the ring. His footwork and his movement were the key, because people like Villa, they're like guys standing in front of you. And Ellis didn't do that. He was swinging away, trying to make a fight of it. That was just food and drink to Ellis in those first 8 rounds, I thought, really. He wanted to move out the way all night. And then it was in the final few rounds, as you said, especially that final round. He got dropped twice, could not get out the way of the left hook. He was in real trouble. Another minute or so, and I think he would have got stopped. He was badly hurt from that first one. But he'd been so inactive. After he beat Roche, he was out for a couple of years, no COVID and all that stuff. But then he beat a guy in a round, I think a few months ago. That final round meltdown was no surprise. If you're inactive, if you're not fight sharp, then there's a chance that you're going to kind of, start to power down and stuff. And that said, I still think he had enough rounds in the bank to win the fight. I'm not sure they give it to Villa. Others might disagree. And they talk about a rematch. As I said earlier, though, I wouldn't mind seeing Ellis in against Ennis. It's in-house kind of stuff. Both showed strong patches in their fights. Both showed flaws. It makes sense to just match them up. But of course, Ennis won the IBF interim last night. I don't know why on earth that was on the line. Ellis was fighting in an IBF eliminator spot. But of course, no matter what I say, he actually lost the fight. So it makes more sense to maybe match Villa with Boots if they're going to keep them going. I think that'd be a KO win for Ellis, even though Villa technically won the fight. But yeah, if they want to have the rematch, fair enough, win a fight to Boots. But let's keep them active, for goodness sake. I think Ellis was a victim of inactivity last night.
You know who they've been keeping on the shelf, and I might have to look up and see if he's done anything. I'm trying to even remember what the W he pulled out that was so impressive, but Cody Crowley, remember? Canadian southpaw.
Oh, yes, he beat that Abdu Kakarov or one of them boys, wasn't he?
I think you're right. Yeah, and I mean, just a great performance, and I don't think I've seen hide nor hair of him since that victory, and that's got to be a year, close to.
He beat Josecito Lopez back in April last year.
Was that on the boot? Yes. I think that was on the Spence
Ugas. Aye, that's right. Aye.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dark horse at the weight. I mean, he's a damn decent, welterweight, and it's a. I think the problem is PBC just not being able to get a lot of these dates because they've got so much
complaining
talent
as well, wasn't he? He was complaining about lack of fight dates and that type of thing, and obviously the fight gets made, and then he's, he mentioned obviously that he's having to take the operation. Like, was another fighter as well who was complaining about lack of fights. Forgetting at this point.
They need to give them more dates. I'll tell you one thing though, Matty. I read that Cody Crowley apparently is into astrology and healing crystals, so that could be a benefit for him going forward.
Sure.
Type of crystals are we talking about here?
Crystal meth, I think.
I was going to say.
Well, that's a weird one. What else? What else was weird on that card? I know, Andy. I know you didn't catch a whole lot on there. That Demetrius Andrade in there against Demon Nicholson, dropping Nicholson a couple of times. I don't know if you caught the shit talk between the two fighters, Steve, but it was far more entertaining than the fight itself.
Yeah, Demon Nicholson is a shit talker, isn't he? I know he was slagging off Jesse Hart before their fight. He's a bit of a nasty bastard, but he was touching everyone's gloves before and after the fight, so fair play to him. I think he was the first guy to take Edgar Berlanga any kind of distance, but Demetrius Andrade, I've got a new name for him, Matty. Andrades. Get him off the TV, man. I don't want to see this guy again. You can dress it up all you want. You can put fancy graphics on the PBC, call him a 2-division champion and former 3-weight world champion, whatever the hell he is. All this stuff is bullshit, man. He's terrible to watch. He's risk-averse. He's overly defensive. He grabs people. He leans with the shoulder. Throw in a limited opponent, Demon Nicholson. You've got a recipe for disaster. I just ended up fast-forwarding chunks of this after about round 7. It's literally a waste of time. Get Andrades off my TV.
Fucking when Eddie can't promote him and get him big fights and get him, enhance his his profile. Eddie could sell sand to the Arabs, but he couldn't sell his Andrade, could he? No. He's awful at watching, Steve says.
Oh, he got Andrade and all them headliners, got him paid well, and then he goes off to the
Against
PBC
who,
for
though?
the big fights. Same as Devon Haney, got him paid all them flipping headliners, and then he went off to Top Rank to get the unification. Come on, Eddie, you need to step it up, lad.
Aye, get back on Sky, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of good shots in there. I mean, you see so much with Andrade that could be there, and he's just less than the sum of his parts. Not entertaining. Like I said, the shit talking was better. I caught him at one point in time singing "What's Love Got to Do with It" to Nicholson. That was entertaining in itself. But yeah, it was an event of something. I could not believe, Steve, if I would have told you that 3 out of those 4 fights were going to go the distance, would you have believed me?
Andrade, I would have said yes, fair enough, because he always comes out looking like $1 million and then lets the guys off the hook, and they end up seeing the rounds. Ellis I thought Ellis would stop that Villa. I actually had a little watch of him, and he was like he ticked all the South American boxes, as I was saying during the week. He was Venezuelan, based in Colombia, 25 wins, 24 knockouts. You know them Colombians? You don't know what you're going to come from them. Could be Ricardo Torres, could be, an absolute bum. But I'll tell you what, he done well till the end. So I would have I thought Ellis was going to stop him, to be honest. Boots, I thought he was a surefire to stop Chukadzian. So 3 out of the 4, I would have said knockouts, yeah.
Yep. Instead, we got what that equate to. We got 42 rounds, and about 35 of them were pretty craptacular, I think.
Well, there's plenty of knockouts on the prelims. If you want me to quickly go over that, I saw those 3 fights.
Yeah. I know there were some knockouts on there. Why don't you kick it off with the comebacking Lamont Peterson and his trials and tribulations?
Well, I didn't see that one.
Oh,
I think that was before. That was the pre-prelims.
Aye, I seen some video on Twitter. He got caught by a heavy shot. Then he goes and he got allowed every respect to continue. He was in no shape to be fighting on. Really, he could have been seriously injured actually. But
against a 16-16 opponent, it is over for Lamont. But
he
take us
shouldn't
through
have
the
come
ones
back,
you did.
should he? Shouldn't
No,
have come back.
No,
I didn't see him. Anthony Peterson didn't end up fighting. He's had a strange career. I think he's like 37-1-1, but he didn't end up fighting in the end. I did see Trevon Marshall, who's 6-0 prospect. He knocked out a guy called Sean West. Really early stoppage. Wasn't impressed by the referee. West looked like he was out of his depth, but it only went on for about a minute and a half. Got him in the corner, threw a few shots, and the referee stopped it. So West was out of there. I think that was a wrong decision for me. Vito Melneke, not really convinced about him. He did knock out Omar Rosales, though it was just completely one-way traffic until the corner threw in the towel, I think, in that one, and got Rosales out of there. And Brandon Lee against Diego Gonzalo Luque. He'd had 10 losses on his record, Luque. He was from Argentina. They wanted to get a knockout for Lee because I think he had a bit of trouble against that Will Madera in his last fight.
Yeah, he got dropped in the third against him, I think.
On the Spence Ugas undercard, he got badly hurt in that one. He came back. I think he's a bit of a one-dimensional puncher. I remember seeing him on Showbox a few times, and he looked like he could absolutely bang, hit like a donkey. But you see, last night, I thought he looked quite one-dimensional. He's a lot of huff and puff. He tries hard, but anyone with decent boxing skills who can stay out away his power, I think are going to outbox him. I think he's going to be a one-dimensional banger, Lee. I could be proved wrong, but I don't know. He's a huff and puff merchant.
I think they ought to put him in with Melneke.
They might do. Melneke lost before to somebody, didn't they? Who did he lose
Yeah, he lost
to?
a majority decision 4 or 5 fights back. But Melneke's like 19, 19, 20.
Yeah.
He's a young
Him and
kid.
Joey Spencer, I always get the two of them mixed up. I know Spencer's undefeated, but Melneke, yeah, they're building him back up. I think he sells a lot of tickets, so the PBC are invested in keeping him going. But yeah, why not put him in against Brandon Lee? I'd say he might outbox Lee. If you can avoid the power, I think there's a chance you'll beat him,
He's lanky. If he can use that and stay away from Lee's right hand, because Lee does have a really good right hand. But yeah, could be a decent fight. It's just they got to do something with these guys. They got to do something to get more dates.
Is that true, Matty, on the screen? Is that true? Ames says that you were high on Vito at one point. Is that correct?
Absolutely, it was.
Nah, he was like 4 fights in, and I said, we'll see where this kid goes. I don't know.
But you probably were high at the time when you said it.
Well, there you go. That's more likely than anything. But what I was saying, PBC, I think they have a problem. I bet if you got in the contracts, they have their guarantees are too high with these fighters. So the problem is it's not only getting dates, it's affording all these dates and being involved in the fights where they can make the money up. I think they might have dug
last night,
themselves in a
in
hole.
America?
Fuck yeah, it was pay-per-view. Fuck
Was
off.
that? How much?
$75. It was $8 for you guys for pay-per-view. I was talking to some of the nutters who were awake at 4 a.m. watching that bullshit.
What's the name of Fight TV over here?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I would like to see the PBC maybe try a streaming strategy on their own platform. Just maybe see if they can't find a good dollar number and do what DAZN was doing earlier. But I mean, they have far more talent. If they can make the numbers make sense.
At one point, they had the best roster in the entire sport. I mean, they took all the Oscars fighters. Not to bring up Eddie and that, but remember Eddie came out with a saying a couple of years ago saying that, in a few years' time, Showtime will be out the sport and that type of thing. Now, I remember seeing a video come up with Adrian Broner. He was obviously on a call with some mates, and it was a video, and he was saying that Showtime are getting out of boxing. Now, I don't know if that's just AB sounding off or whatever, and that he's signed obviously another promotion and he's got a fight coming up soon, that type of thing. But it makes you wonder, actually. I mean, that's two guys in the sport. Obviously Eddie knows what's getting done in the background, or you'll hear stories. And Broner, who was obviously a member of that stable, he's obviously been talking to people, or he'll know people, and even his own negotiations, trying to get a fight made and that type of thing. So he'll know himself actually as to what's happening in the background. I personally don't think it's looking good at this point, actually, because Showtime have not put on much over the last year. Obviously, we've had the Charlo
year was
fight.
A little bit sparse.
We've had Wilder come back.
And the problem is a lot of the fights that you normally would have been, headlining a Showtime Championship boxing card.
Andy Ruiz against, who was it? Andy Ruiz and
Ortiz.
Was that pay-per-view as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck's sake, how the fuck can that be justified for pay-per-view?
Be interesting to see where they go now, because Showtime are now under some kind of issues, isn't it? Is it Paramount or somebody's looking to buy them out? And I think the Fox PBC deal's over now. I don't think they've renewed, so they're not going to have those avenues to show them. I think Fox did a pretty decent deal. A lot of their fights with the PBC are actually quite good. So I don't know. The PBC is dwindling here. I know Pigeon in the chat says bring back HBO. HBO ain't coming back. They're not interested in boxing. They were dying on the vine for the last 8 years as well. Remember. So they're gone and done. But the PBC, now they've finished with Fox and Showtime and Espinoza. I don't know how it'll go with them. They're interesting, exciting times ahead for them. Actually, maybe not such exciting times. You could see them dying out, or some of the fighters maybe in the ironclad grip of Uncle Al, because it is all going a bit pear-shaped at the moment. And inactivity, Andy is killing them. I mean, the likes of Charlo, the one Charlo fought once last year. I don't think the other one even fought at all. And they need to get their finger out of it.
As I mentioned, Stanley Ennis was complaining about lack of fights and that, and then obviously he gets a fight made and he's having to pull out because of injury. I forget, there was a couple of I'm sure Broner was another one that was complaining about lack of dates and lack of options or offers or whatever it was. Maybe a few others. You mentioned that Charlo's are hardly active these days, or one of them isn't active at least.
There's none of them guys active, and I think back to the to the early days when they got going, like they had Leo Santa Cruz fight. He fought like 5 times in 11 months.
He fighting Floyd undercards and that type of thing as well. And then obviously cover his own stuff and that.
Yeah.
I just think, I think a big problem is there's probably about 24 fighters in the world who honestly, as far as what they create, as far as revenue, deserve $1 million paydays. But there's far more than that who are getting them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything. It's like everything else. I mean, you mentioned the purses and that. I think we're getting to a critical mass point, whereas people are. Eddie mentioned it obviously in that as well. This is expensive. This is just getting too much. But then you've got people like Eddie driving it up, type of thing. Trying to get the most pound notes, trying to get made. So there will come a point where it just gets too much. And what we're going to be left with? Are we going to be left with like boxing is just going to have to move into a streaming service entirely? Because if Showtime go at the sport, I'm trying to think which other American TV stations show boxing. We've got Sky Sports obviously over here, but in BT Sports, they're hardly putting out great content either at this point. The sport just seems to be so fragmented at this point as well. Too many vested interests, too many different options at this point in regards to TVs and online streaming, that type of thing, and pay-per-views and that, but it's not. It's just isn't looking promising. And I say it'll be interesting as well with regards to this Tank Davis fight and Garcia, because obviously you've got two rival networks here. Just wait and see how this transpires.
Yeah. If boxing gets any shit, we're going to have to fold up this podcast like a deck chair and go home, I think.
Won't get to 1,000 episodes.
I think we should wait until Eddie leaves the sport, then we can retire. So if we can see him out first, then we'll be fine.
Oh, be good, wouldn't it?
All right. Well, let's take a look at this since we're kind of just yapping here. This is what is currently on ESPN's boxing schedule since we got some
There's
time
another
here.
TV station been putting on trash over the last year and a bit.
Well, let's see here. So next Friday in Canada, going to be able to see Kim Clavel against Jessica Neri Plata in a unification fight in the junior flyweight division. I know Andy will be all up on that one. Let's see. Maslam Akdeniz versus Samuel Tea is on the undercard on that one. So all sorts of exciting times in Canada. Then the next day in New York, that's a good card. We'll obviously discuss this one more in depth. These are both the top of the card. These are close to 50-50 fights with the books. Got F.A. Ajagba against Stefan Shaw and Guido Vianello against Johnny Rice. Both those 10-round heavyweight fights, and also Adam Lopez against Abraham Nova. So there's an ESPN card next Saturday, and I'll give him some credit on that one, Steve. That's a good one. Let's
it's okay.
Here.
Yeah, reasonably matched fights, I suppose.
Yeah. January 20th, Showbox card from Pennsylvania. Got Paul Kroll coming back. Seen him a couple of times. He's still against TBA. Sean Hemphill against David Stevens. Atif Barrelton versus Artem Bruzov, and Julian Gonzalez against Rosalindo Morales. So you'll be having that Showbox card. Then we got the Eubank Jr. Liam Smith card. Also that same night, Don King Promotions is going to be bringing you Jonathan Guidry against Bermain Stavern from Miami. Good times.
Hold on, I have the poster.
Is that the following week?
Yeah, they are.
Or is that? Oh, it's 2 weeks away.
Clash of the Champions, Andy. I don't know what champions they are. Let freedom ring for the Ukraine. There you go.
I don't even know if there's a Ukrainian fighter involved.
Listen, do you remember how Don King got involved in boxing? They tried to get Muhammad Ali in for a charity fight for a hospital, apparently. How much money did that hospital get?
It was like he made $100,000, didn't he? And he gave the hospital like 8.
It was square root of fuck all, by the way. That's what Ukraine will be getting out of Don King, I can guarantee you.
All right, let's see here. 28th, you got Better Be against Yard over there. That's going to be on ESPN Plus here. That same night on DAZN, got a pretty weak card. You got Alexis Rocha against Anthony Young, Floyd Schofield against Alberto Mercado. That's a decent fight. Wait, Alberto Mercado, not Machado. Maybe that's not a good fight. Anyways, let's see here. Then this fight was going to be good until fucking Valdez pulled out. You got Manuel Navarrete against Liam Wilson. And then the fight I like on this one, Jose Pedraza against Arnold Barboza Jr. That one, that's a curious fight.
That's not too bad. Is it 10-rounder?
Yes, it is a 10-rounder, Steve.
Fucking knew it.
Yep.
Has Otto Wallen got an opponent yet?
I don't know. Let's keep going down the fucking thing here, and we'll see. On DAZN on February 4th, I actually like this card. Amanda Serrano, Erica Cruz. That's going to be for Undisputed at featherweight. And also Alicia Baumgartner going for Undisputed at junior lightweight. Because I think that they're trying to set up Serrano against Baumgartner, which is a good fight. I don't give a shit what end of the spectrum you are on women's boxing.
Here, can I ask you something quickly on that, Matty, actually?
Sure.
Because you're the women's boxing aficionado. Michaela Mayer, I tell you what, she's done some moaning since that Baumgartner interview. Every interview that flicks up on my YouTube, she's complaining. Is she a bit of a whiner, or is it just this one incident?
Oh, I think the basic white girl is shining through on that one. And, didn't get her way. She's gonna bitch.
Entitlement,
but
white privilege.
But I'll tell you what, she's moved up to lightweight, and I would like to see her against Katie Taylor. I think that's a hell of a boxing match.
Put her in against Karen.
There you go. Let's see here. Hey, you're gonna love this one on February 11th. Your buddy Ray Vargas, Andy, trying to become a 3 division titleist, going against Jackie Foster
Yeah, he's a decent fighter, that Foster, by the way. That Foster's a decent fighter.
That's a good fight, there, Andy.
He's
That's
a
not
very
too
good
bad,
amateur, but
yeah.
I just don't know if he can put it all together as a pro. And Vargas is generally pretty boring, but pretty decent as well. But I'm more looking forward to the fight on undercard, Matty. Matias against Ponce. That is a firefight. That's a shootout fight for me.
Excellent.
Yeah, good fight.
Excellent. So there's a couple good. Let's see here. The day before my birthday, on February 21st, February 24th in Florida, Guillermo Rigondeaux against TBA. Ariel Perez de la Torre against Janfrey Parejo. That's an exciting one. Then
I heard Rigondo's fighting a British guy called David Blunkett. They're about the same age.
February 25th from Atlanta, Georgia, Adrian Broner going against Ivan Redkach, and I'm going to be looking at the odds on that one. Broner looks like shit, and yeah, Redkach is a nutty bastard.
He's training though.
Broner looks like shit.
He's training.
Yeah,
I've seen him on Instagram. He's training.
He looked, when I saw him, Andy, he reminded me of how Alvarado looked in his workout before the third Rios fight.
To be honest, mate, he's washed. I've told you for long enough now. I think he's just the lifestyle now has caught up with him, and what you do as a young man, it catches up with you in the end. And what you could do at 24, you can't do at 32, 34. You can't binge eat. You can't go out on the tiles. You can't go in the piss. You can't take the piss even. As you get older, you got to maintain it, and he doesn't do it, and that's his downfall. And I don't know if Redkach will be the guy to beat him as such, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get some sort of closest decision from Broner or a fucking draw of some sort, because he throws 20 punches around, if that.
It's ridiculous. Again, if Redkach is the guy, I don't know, but before he hangs him up, Adrian Broner is going to catch a vile beating. Guaranteed.
I'm there for it. And by the way, apologies, obviously missing the last couple of weeks of the podcast, so before Christmas and that. But if I've been on, they brought it up. The celebration. I think it's the 7th year. I think it is since Chino put that beat down on him. Right. That infamous beat down with the following day.
It was early December, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
It should be a global holiday.
The Christmas shopping the following day, hungover like you would not believe, and I hate Christmas shopping. But that day, I felt no pain. I was in great stakes. I was living life, and Adrian Broner caught that L because, as you guys know, I couldn't cope with the thought of him having to go through his entire career undefeated, and what a way to catch an L. So that was great to see.
Yeah, Chase is mentioning their Farmer against Redkach. I don't think Farmer knocked out Redkach, but he definitely beat him. I think I was actually at that fight. I think Farmer boxed his ears off.
Redkach had no business being at 130 pounds. The guy is huge. He evolved into a much better puncher when he moved up.
Yeah, he bit him. Yeah, that's right.
That was the guy who fought Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
And he went a bit with the trunks that had build that wall with the old Donald Trump saying.
No, that was not Salka.
Salka. Right, that's right.
He got absolutely wrecked by fucking Garcia.
Yeah, that's the one
he banged his gloves together, and that fucking left hook came in. And that was a beautiful moment. Anyways, do you know what's on the undercard of that Broner Redkach fight?
Finally, Tevin Farmer against Mickey Bay.
Yeah,
the fight that's went from Dubai to Africa, back to America. Was it BK? Is it BKB Promotions?
It's the same one, BLK, the one that
BLK Prime.
Yeah.
Is that the one that did the Crawford fight?
Yep.
Yeah. So how much longer will they be around though, Andy? Did you see Probellum winding up all their stuff this week? No, I'm not saying they're connected in any way, by the way.
Great bunch of lads, mate. But I didn't see the usual arse kissers coming out, defending Probellum. It was great. It's sad to see them go. They were meant to be the next takeover in the sport. They'd given assurances that they were not in any way, shape, or form connected.
What's going to happen to all these link-ups now they did with Ecuadorian promotions and Nicaragua boxing and all that?
And Kazakhstan and all that type of places. There's going to be a few mouths to feed, I think, by the end of this year's up. I can guarantee you that. Or there'll be new careers hunting to be drawing up at some point, I think.
You laugh now, but in 10 years, the premier promoter in boxing is going to be Marv Nation.
Don King probably, because evil never dies, man. Bob Armour will be kicking about 110.
Oh shit! March 4th. See if we finally get this shit underway. Josh Taylor against Jack Catterall. Going to be coming from Glasgow. You going to make the trek for that one, Andy?
I don't know yet, mate. I've got obviously been off with the work in that, I've got a lot of catching up to do and that, so I might need to be working some weekends. I don't know yet, mate. To be fair,
Yeah,
so you might see how it kind of transpires. But
I can dig it. And then the last one that ESPN has listed. Of course, there's more from all across the world that they don't have. But April 8th, San Antonio, Texas, on DAZN. Bam Rodriguez going in there against Christian Gonzalez for a vacant flyweight strap. So that's what is currently sitting on the docket right now. I know some other things are under discussion. Not an awful schedule, but things just fall apart. Believe it or not, I again, we'll get into this. I kind of want to see if Rob will get here, before we get into the meat of it. But that Stefan Shaw, I think that's a better fight than Oscar Rivas. I mean, because we don't know a lot about Stefan Shaw yet. We don't know about his potential, but we kind of know what Oscar Rivas is. So I kind of think that's a really good replacement. But let's see if we got some questions in the old queue here. All right, Declan. Random question. Would Frank shows ever drop price nearer to the event if it's not selling? Going to Better Biev and Yard, but cheapest ticket is £67.
Wow, we used to be about 40, 45 quid for likes of the bleacher seats usually.
I paid $290 for 2 tickets to Crawford and Avenation.
Where was that about though? Where were you sat?
Oh, I was so you got like the floor seating, that's floor level, and then one level up from the floor seating is where I was about 6 rows back. So I had pretty good seats. I wasn't gonna go fucking that far for a fucking
definitely
fight,
overpriced though. To be fair, mate,
I don't know. I saw
what you were paying.
What's that?
So what you were paying was overpriced, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably. It fucking shit's crazy. But I mean, you say that, but it was sold out. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, at the least, they actually underpriced it by economics. That's economics, supply and demand. You're trying to find equilibrium.
Comps, mate? How much was it? It was comps.
Oh, in Omaha? I wouldn't think that fucking many. There's nobody to comp in Omaha.
I forgot it was in Omaha, so that would make sense. And
Massey. I was fishing through the drawer the other day having a clear out, and I found my ticket from De La Hoya Hopkins back in 2004, MGM Grand, $350 I paid for it, and I was nowhere near the ring either. So Oscar was at a premium back in the day.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. I've seen. I was doing the same thing. I was clearing out some stuff. My David Hay, Vladimir Klitschko ticket fell out the cupboard. I was in one of the stands. I think it was €75. So what's that?
That was really disappointing. Fucking 75.
Yeah, it was shocking. It was shit weather as well. Fucking July, man. Torrential monsoon rain. It was just fucking torture.
Fucking bitching his toe.
Listen, bitching about his toe. Look at him now. Look at him now, man. He's gonna boot that. He's gonna boot with 2 women.
That's I'm not. I think that's great.
No. Listen, that shows you one thing, but he took too many shots to the head during his boxing career. Because if he's wanting a headache, go back in the ring. What's he wanting to get 2 women for?
More one-sided than a throuple.
Don't you guys remember that fucking old Beach Boys song, 2 girls for every boy?
No,
that's a great song, and it's a fantastic idea as well.
Is he a Mormon? Is it the Mormons who have loads of wives, or is that?
Yeah. They have multiple wives, polygamy or Mormon hold'em, as you might call it.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, it's like in some like they have a fair amount of money, so like have multiple houses, but it's like fairly illegal. So like they're in like just some small communities now, and then like fucked up stuff happens. There's this guy named Warren Jeffs who had one of those, and he was like marrying 13-year-old girls and shit. It was really fucked up.
Who's doing more well sexually, David Hay or Eddie Hearn?
Dude, Andy, you seriously would like to have one on your lap and one on your face?
No, mate. I'm not getting into it just now as well because there's too many prying ears running about my vicinity just now. Right? Let's just say, no, absolutely not.
7 wives, man. Imagine that in your ear, Andy. Sorry, Holly.
He's not.
I know. My name's not Holly.
He's taking them on vacation and banging them. Like they're not married. They're just having a fantastic time.
What happens? Though, like let's say if one of them on the QT says, "Hey, by the way, you looked at her for 5 minutes longer than what you looked at me." I'm saying myself. You be saying yourself. Nah, no, listen, we're kind of like
Then you leave her in Spain,
mate. Look, I dare say, look, we'd all love to do it, but come
if you
on,
have that kind of money,
come
you
on,
can
we
just
know
trade them out.
that's going to end badly. That one, like,
I feel like we've gone off track
Possibly.
here.
Well, we're talking about prices and if it's worth it. So I mean, I guess, but I don't know if Frank would move the ticket prices. Like I think that's rational. You know,
I think Des put in the chat, I think it was Des, and he's right. It's being sold off the back of Baturbiev, isn't it? Unified 3-belt champion, absolute banger coming over. I'm not sure how many tickets Yard sells, to be honest, but yeah, I don't know what the going rate is. Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah, it's well, we'll see. We'll see what the crowd is there. It'll be a shame if people don't wander in for that one, but I mean, if that's the ticket price, maybe they won't. You try to catch those guys when they're around. Let's see here. David sending us a question. David says, how far can Big Fraze, as in Frazier Clarke, go? I don't think as good as he thinks he is. And if recent opposition is anything to go by, period. Andy?
Well, obviously, you know, the timing's now, really. I mean, he's early 30s. You know, he's not going to get much chance to do some learning fights. He's like you said, a very lengthy amateur career. You know, he's fought some of the best. He's fought Jalilov in that as well. How far can he go? I think he can get to British title level. Probably Europeans. I'm not really too up to date on the kind of like European level heavyweights that we've got at the minute, but there's not seeing much movement, to be fair. We've got that Guido, what's his name? He's that Italian boy. He's fighting in America next week.
Guido Vianello.
I'm not really a big fan of that guy, to be fair. He's another one who's competed as an amateur, but he just needs to get the opposition. Obviously, I mean, what he's been fighting, was it 2 fights back? A guy literally like lasted like 30 seconds, and he just should not have been there. Absolutely should not have been there. So he doesn't need the type of opponents. We mentioned it before. He's had better sparring sessions. He's fought far better than amateurs. He should be fighting at that level, like say your Jalilov type level fighters at this point. Budding prospects. You need to throw out some names to me at this point as to who should maybe match him with. But that's what he should be looking at just now, or sinks and swims and maybe just get him into a title fight of some sort sometime soon. But he's not going to be fighting like Furies or any of that ilk any time soon. So you've got to be looking at domestic level fighters, which I don't really know many kicking about at this point. Chisora's washed. Parker's not going to be interested. Plus, it's a different level fight in that as well. I don't know at this point, but he needs to be fighting far better than what he's been facing, to be fair.
Steve, where do you think he's going to go? Straight to the canvas?
I don't know. To be honest, every time he's fought, it's been on the undercards and I've kind of missed him or caught up with it later. I will say, at least he's active. I know he's 31. He's had 4 fights this year of varying levels. Sokolowski's a good step up in his last one. So at least he is active. But as Des says there, Sky don't have a good matchmaker. He's fighting white-collar kids. Best thing to do with Fraze, give him $250K for the year, get him out 12 to 15 times, flip me. That'd be some going, Fat Mick's hanging around Sky. Why can't they get him on the matchmaking game? He knows how to match a fighter. Just get on with it. Get him knocking people out, get him fighting active, try and push him on as quick as they can. He's early 30s. Like I said, I haven't really caught too much for him because he's been kind of early in the night on Sky. But yeah, I'm not really sure what they're doing with him at the moment. And the chat hasn't been too positive about this 258 link up either. So Sky need a good matchmaker. I agree with Des on that one. Get Fat Mick on the matchmaking.
Paging Fat Mick. Mick to the matchmaking room.
Mick's brilliant at matching fighters. He just hasn't got that extra ingredient, has he? But I'm a Mick fan, as you know.
Yeah, some of those Channel 5 cards you put on, man, they'd be like really competitive 50-50 fights, some of them, especially the main events at least.
Yeah,
they didn't necessarily matter for anything. They were just fucking good fights on television. What the fuck?
Yeah, Mick's always been good to that certain level. I always thought he'd be a good right-hand man, but obviously because of pride in his own promotional company, he'd never do that. But he gets guys to a certain level, and he just can't get them any further for whatever reason. But ever since Wasserman and Sauerland and took over Channel 5, apart from really Kelly Williamson, it's been absolute shit since Mick left.
Yeah, I think part of like what makes good promoters as far as how the fans see him is I think you got to be a big fight fan yourself. I think you have to look at a fight through the lens of is this going to be entertaining? Is this something I want to see? Just, if you got some money around, you got the right fighter signed, be a nerd, and say, God, this would be a good fight. Let's make it happen. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the way it's functioning anymore. So, and that certainly isn't Mick's fault. He did the best with what he had to work with. All right, last one here. Let's see here. I don't know who this is from, but it says one of the nutters asked about Audley Harrison, his early career fights, expectations, world title ambitions, etc. Was a good question, but forgot to write it down.
Oh, yeah, that was from me.
Yeah.
I think it was Joe Burns or somebody. They put a message in the Nutters group, and we had a whole discussion about Audley. And I thought, yeah, that'd be good for the pod. And then the way there's about 1,000 messages a day, I couldn't find it, and so that was the best I could do on the screen. Sorry.
You're fine. Anyways, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Audley experiment was a good one, wasn't it? He basically killed boxing on the BBC. I think they gave him £1 million for his first 10 fights. He picked all his opponents. I remember his debut opponent, an American ex-army guy, Mike Middleton. He knocked him out in Wembley Arena in about 2001, I think it was. And then he went on to fight guys like Derek McCafferty, Julius Long. I think Dominic Negus was thrown in there at some point. And then he fought Richel Hesisia, who was called the Dutch Sonny Liston. He was unbeaten puncher for the WBF title. And there was a lot expected of Audley because he was on terrestrial TV. He was supposed to fight fighting Frank Bruno. I was just about to say that one time. Frank was going to make a comeback. He was going to fight Bruno. Herbie Hyde as well was on his undercards. I think he got knocked out by Joshua Chingango. Or Herbie was at ringside of one of Audley's fights, causing a load of ruckus. They were talking about them two fighting. You're right, Bruno got sectioned, so they didn't make that fight, thankfully. Yeah, things were expected because of the money he was given, because of the profile he was given. He was an Olympic gold medalist in Sydney in 2000, but it just didn't really transpire. And I think there was just a rejoicing amongst the boxing fraternity, Andy, when he came back from America and fought Danny Williams, lost in 2005. I've got it up here. And then he lost again to Dominic Gwynn. And people just wanted to see him lose because he didn't really cover himself in glory. He was like, I'm going to win a world title. I'm going to dominate. And people were just happy to see him fail, which is maybe a bit sad now looking back.
I can remember Ian Dark, I forget what fight it was, but he was doing his ring walk and he's calling him, says, a fighter who's been derided by loads of fans, fraudly, all this type of stuff. And then he comes back, he knocks out Danny Williams, right? And then he gets knocked out of Michael Sprott. He literally like sparkled, it's like a log. And then obviously he went to London and got beat off Martin Rogan. He just couldn't cope with the pace that Rogan set that night.
What was the one where he came back from fucking hell and he pulled it out of the fucking fires?
That was a Sprott rematch.
Rematch, 12-round knockout. He dislocated one of his shoulders. I think it was his right.
Showed balls that night, I thought.
He did because he got the Hay world title fight off the back of that win, actually. But yeah, it was one of the most devastating turnarounds of a fight I've seen in a British ring in a long, long time, actually, because he was well behind on the cards. I say his injury happened pretty early in the fight. Steve says he showed his balls to hang in there, man. It's so easy just to kind of pull out when you're in a lot of pain. And he just uncorked the left hand straight across his Sprott, trying to attack him. Just basically, even I remember Ian Dark on the commentary. Actually, it was like one of those moments when Foreman beat Michael Moorer. That's what it was like. Just the complete shock and surprise that he just turned the fight on its head because obviously both guys were getting beat handedly at that point, and somehow they just fucking pull a shot out the fire that won the fight. What a knockout. What a knockout.
Mark Stanton says there, didn't Negus bite Audley? I'm not sure if he bit him. He might have done, but I do remember Negus was on the way out. He was about to get knocked out, and Audley hit him while he was down. And all of a sudden, Dominic finds this lease of life, jumps up and runs across the ring and tries to grab Audley and like headbutt him. It was the early BBC fights were class, man. He fought some absolute pish, picked his own fights, and he was pretty much responsible for BBC knocking boxing on the head. But it was looking back, it was kind of fun times, I think now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was his amateur success, obviously, and then winning the Olympic gold medal was in 2000, I think it was, that the British government, or I think it was the National Lottery, decided to put a lot more funding into boxing. So, obviously, had Amir Khan come along.
Led to Khan in 2004, exactly.
2004, and obviously we had our success with James DeGale, I think in 2008. I think Frankie Gavin.
Honestly, you guys have had pretty good teams
Billy Joe
since then. So I
Saunders,
mean,
aye.
he did so what he did for the sport. You
Yeah.
actually got to quantify that a bit.
He did. To be honest, he actually revolutionised our amateur scene because obviously his success, people were like, "All right, okay, we can get behind that." Because obviously, he didn't seem signing $1 million or £1 million contract for fights. It says I think Amir Khan was the only British fighter to go to the Olympics
At
that
Athens,
year.
that's right. There was no others. He was the only one. Yeah.
And then you think about 2008, we sent possibly I know
David Price, Tony
Saunders
Jeffries won a
Price,
bronze as well. Yeah,
Jeffries. I think Frankie Gavin got disqualified because of the weight issue.
that's right. Yeah,
I can see
James
that happening.
James DeGale obviously went as well, and then obviously 2012, that's when the women started getting involved as well. So you had Natasha Jonas, who's the other one, the wee one. She won a medal. Oh, I forget her name. Oh, what's her name? The black lassie.
Oh, Nicola Adams.
Nicola Adams, sorry, Nicola Adams, and then who else won gold that year? Joshua won gold, undeservedly, obviously. I think there were a few others maybe picked up some medals and that. Who was it?
Yeah, Beijing was a good one. DeGale
Beijing,
beat Darren Sutherland on the way to gold. But yeah, the Audley career was good. I enjoyed the Audley career. I know he got banged out a few times towards the end, but the early BBC days were funny. And he took himself over to America to get the sparring. I remember Frank Warren slagging him off. Oh, he thinks he's better than us over in America, fighting the likes of Bob Wiggins. He's calling Robert Wiggins.
See, one thing I'll never forget as long as my arse looks south, by the way, right? When they tried to sell us a David Hay fight. And that was when David Hay came out with that fucking gang rape comment.
Yeah.
And he doubled down on it and says, this fight is going to be like a gang rape, right? And he's on like national television news shows and that, and he's doubled down on it, that type of stuff. And then you've got Johnny Nelson and Barry McGuigan on the Sky Sports broadcast trying to give you, like, say, tales of the fight, basically. So you've got Barry, who's obviously bigging up David Hay, and then you've got Johnny Bag Nelson trying to big up Audley Harris's chances. I think, Johnny, you're not going to convince us that he's going to win this fight, mate. It's just not going to happen. And obviously we've seen what happened. I think he landed one punch the entire 3 rounds the fight lasted. And obviously he's banged out of David Price, and then he's banged out in his last fight against Deontay Wilder.
Well, one fight I forgot as well from Audley, when he won the WBF title off Hesisia, he made his first defense against Julius Francis, who people might have seen banging out a reveler at some event recently. And that was 12 turgid rounds, man. Francis was a decent fighter. He'd obviously fought Tyson, and I think he handed Danny Williams his first loss, but he was well towards the end there. It was like a glorified sparring session.
Yeah, he handles people in the street pretty easily as well, from what I can remember.
But he doesn't know what the value of the week is.
Yeah, what's the thing? But the thing is, he's living a good life now, Audley, by obviously he's made his money and that, but he seems to be very good at the old poker, eh?
Is he really?
Aye, he was. I remember watching a show that David Hay was trying to kind of get him, into poker and that as well, and he enlisted the help of Audley Harrison because he's got quite the analytical mindset for it and that, eh? So he's not as stupid as what he looks.
Yeah. Good question, sorry, Matty, just final one. I'm just throwing out just random shit I remember now. Whenever he came back to the BBC, they got Nigel Benn on and Harry Carpenter back. I can't remember. Ben made some kind of comment, but they didn't ask him back again after that. But Harry Carpenter, I think he died not long after that. And John Inverdale did the presenting, and it's just a different era. And the fact they were trying to get Frank Bruno in the ring as well just shows it kind of transcends the different generations. But good question, whoever asked it. So sorry, you can make yourself known in the Nutters chat.
Yes, that was a good question. Taking us back, maybe have to recall when Deontay Wilder did his windmill. Not the prettiest thing ever, but it ended the fight. So that was a good one. Like to thank all the people who we have in the chat today. Just going to bounce around here. We got Prince Pigeon, Jim McDonald Boxing, Ben Russell, Michael Thompson, Mark Stanton. Let's see here, Josh Ford, Thomas Newman. Johnny the Big Horsecock Nelson. He says it again. I wonder if he's not afraid of getting banned or something. Big A. Let's see here. M. Lithgow in there. Dez in there. Welch Chimmers. Just keep on rolling on up the page here. Matt Butters in there as well. Appreciate you in there. He's part of the Patreon group, part of the Boxing Nutters Messenger group. And if you guys want to join that, you can hop into our Patreon and we'll throw you right in there. We have some good fun chats throughout the week. Chase Athletics in there as well. Appreciate you, Paul Rafferty. And let's find one more. I'm sure there's got to be Wallaby King. Well, I'll be damned. All right. Well, Owen Ryan Deal is in there as well. Appreciate everybody for hopping in there into the chat today. And of course, we appreciate everybody who's in our Patreon as well. And again, you want to join that up? A lot of fringe benefits on there. We run a good group, got a good bunch of folks in there. And we also have a new prediction league that is starting alongside of the one that we have on the show. And you still have a chance to get in that. We'll be doing seasons as well. So you don't have to worry about the year-long madness. That was the first idea on that one. I think kind of bit off a little more than was necessary at that. But it was a pretty good go there with Mr. Wellings taking the championship. And Steve, did you only win the championship in one prediction league this year?
No, I actually won the league in 2 prediction leagues this year. So for all those people who say I can't pick a fight, stick it right up your hole. Wellings is on top, the king, prediction league winner ×2. Yes!
Oh, back man. Next season, baby. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, man. And
have that wing mirror on your head.
And your your hesitance throughout the year to ever be cocky whatsoever has given way to madness not seen since the Targaryens, I see.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I hope I don't end up like them. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm a fan of incest like the next man, but they just take it to extreme.
So you say incest or incels?
Incense.
No, incense candles, right? Okay.
Incels are technically incest because I guess if you're fucking yourself, you're fucking family.
Here, Mark Stanton says Steve will be getting sponsored this season. Yep, I'm open to offers, absolutely. I'll be like Bernard Hopkins or Sven Otka back in the day. Remember, we used to have a condom sponsor sprayed on his back, Andy. I'm open to that.
Yeah. Well, why not just do what Hector Luis Garcia did last night? Get some fucking Bible quotes and OnlyFans sponsorship at the same time.
What is this OnlyFans, man? Who's going to subscribe to Hector Luis Garcia's OnlyFans? Let's be honest here about this.
What's on it, though? That's the thing.
Fuck's sake.
Well, they might just be advertising the site, too, you know.
Yeah, possibly.
I think Ennis also had OnlyFans on his gear. Maybe it was his robe or something like that. They're getting out there. There's OnlyFans everywhere. I got a friend of mine that I met in politics, and she made enough money to go out and buy herself a luxury car with her OnlyFans. So fair play to these fucking people. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not here to stop you. I'm not here to pay for it either, but I'm not here to stop them.
Yeah. I can understand when it was women and stuff, and like Andy says, you got the incels out there trying to have a little look, but now it's become all tame and all woke, and that nobody's going to want to see Jaron Ennis's bits, are they?
Well, it's their choice. It's the market. If you don't want to see his bits, don't subscribe to him. You know?
I noticed he had Catch a Body on his shorts as well, so who knows what he's putting up on his OnlyFans?
God knows. Yeah.
Cat Jades.
Oh man, I was hoping Rob would be in here by now, but Rob's not in here. I kind of don't want to short him. Do you guys have anything that has been? I know we could go into. Andy, did you see the minimum weight fight from Japan on Friday? I didn't catch it, but I thought you mentioned something about watching that one.
Yeah, I did catch up. I'm just give me a second to try and pull up the card details again. So it says
Jerusalem.
It was one of those situations. I haven't watched boxing since the Lopez fight. Obviously, been unwell on that. So this, thanks to Tim Boxeo, we actually got a decent link for his free HD. I think the Kameda brothers actually promoted it. Who was it? Yoshimito Kaimura. He was a super featherweight titleist. He got iced in 5 rounds over Masanura Rikishi. And then you got Masatake Takenuchi, who's WBO minimum weight champ, as you mentioned. Melvin Jerusalem knocked him out in 2 rounds, badly fucking knocked him out, actually iced him. And then you've got Daniel Valerde's IBF minimum weight champ, who really looked for the back door. Really, he actually got a 3-round no decision against Janjiro. I think it's Shigeko. I think his name is, Japanese kid, 8-0. really looks the business, this kid, actually, to be fair. I think he's only in the early 20s at this point, but certainly looks a certainly powerful unit. Was boxing pretty well, good southpaw, but that Valerdes was kind of like leading it in with the head a little bit. And ultimately, he's came off worse during a head clash. And he initiated it, and then he started complaining that he couldn't see, and then obviously, 4 rounds not complete, couldn't continue, and the fight was called no contest. So I suspect they'll probably call a rematch on that one, possibly. I don't know if it was a mandatory defence or whatever, and that. Not much to kind of write home about on the undercard. It was just one of those things that I kind of just stuck it on during the course of the day and just waited for the kind of main stuff to kind of come up and that. So the link's there. I think I sent it to you guys. Did I know? I don't know if you caught up with it or no, but the link's there.
You put it up. I never watched it.
It's
I just happened to notice
good quality. Like, it's a good quality link, to be fair. So shout out to Tim Boxeo for sharing that with the lads.
Well, I had a hell of a time trying to find a good copy of Kazuto Ioka against Joshua Franco. Finally
I've got
caught
a copy
that
if you
one.
want it.
I finally watched it today. Just had to mute the commentary. It was some guy doing the commentary. I would have just rather listened to the Japanese guys scream.
What?
Yeah, at least
Ioka!
Yeah.
I love
They're
it when
class,
they
them, aren't they?
I know. I love it when they get excited when somebody lands a devastating shot. Or that. What? The fucking. I'm expecting some Danny LaRusso guy who stand up on the fucking table ready to go to war, man. Pull out his samurai sword, motherfucker.
I love the way the clock goes the other way, Andy. It starts at 1 and goes up to 3.
Goes up to 3.
A civilized nation.
I know. And then obviously when the bell rings, and then the poor bastard thing, he's got to stand and he gets this scripture read to him. He's got his gloves on. He gets the scripture handed to him, and he can't handle it because he's got a fucking pair of gloves on. And he gets handed a big trophy that he's not going to get on the fucking plane. He's got to send it by fucking, FedEx or whatever, and that, try and get it back to wherever he's flying to. And they're quite respectful, kind of like cheering the loser, so to speak. So very very civilized.
Yeah, well, this fight wasn't civilized. It was a pretty good battle that I thought Franco actually got the best of. Fight ended up being a draw. I didn't see it that way. I thought that Franco was getting the best of most of these exchanges. And in a rematch, I'd have to favor him. He just looked big compared to Ioka too. Just landed solid combinations, forcing Ioka back most of the time. And where I was really disappointed, I know you haven't seen it yet, Andy, but Ioka just was not getting off first hardly at all. And he just allowed himself to keep getting backed up. He should be very happy that he got away with the draw on this one. I didn't think it could have been a draw watching it.
I'll definitely catch it. I have got a copy of it, as I say. I just not had a chance really, so I will be catching up with it. But I was again, as I mentioned about that David Hay ticket. I actually came across an old Ring magazine article back from 2011, I think it was. And I was just going through the magazine at the time, and there was a full page article on it about Ioka. And believe it or not, that's for 2011. We're now at 2023. A 12-year pro, and he's went from minimum weight up to super flyweight. That is a long career for a guy at that weight. And at that point, he was only like 8-0 at the time. I think he'd been a unified champ at minimum weight. I think he'd fought Yagashi at that time. So I'm not surprised. Maybe just it's maybe it's just old age getting to him. Maybe no, I think it's maybe something like that.
It seems like that. And you know who's going down to 115?
Donaire.
Yeah, I think he mentioned some of the Strata. I'd rather, if they're going to fight, keep fighting, I'd rather see Ioka fight Donaire. I don't give a shit how old they are. I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Ioka's going to be running for much longer. He's still got a belt. He's still relevant, obviously. The Nakatani fight might get made next, but unifications possibly. But yeah, I'm surprised Donaire's going to go down from 118 now to 115. Like, I know it's only £3, but fucking hell. What is he? He's in his 40s now, Donaire, isn't he?
He's 40 now. He's 40 now, yeah.
But saying that, with the rehydration, you just don't know. Maybe with a bigger guy, he's definitely got the power still. You just think about a guy like Ioka, who I think his best weight is probably flyweight. He's just up there because it's the bigger names are up there, so to speak, and a title's opportunity there as well. So I think it was Koshi Tanaka was the champion at the time. He possibly beat him. So let's go through the flyweight, so the super flyweight rankings now. Steve, guess who's ranked number 9 with the IBF?
Go on.
Prince Patel. No WBA this time. It's the IBF.
Okay. And they say going out to these Hungarian bars doesn't do you any favours.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically everything that I think we had since we left. You guys got anything before we move into previews here? We've held out for Rob as long as I think we can.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it's really it was another top rank card. What was the top rank card? 13th of December.
Well, that's what we're going to preview that.
No, this was in December, mate.
Oh, we talked about that, didn't we? Because we had a show on the 17th.
Was that the Lopez fight?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yep. Yep, so, all right. Well.
Inoue, that's who it was. Did you catch Inoue fight? Paul Butler?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
That was the following week when you were really ill again.
So you're dying.
Aye, I fucking was.
So yeah, unfortunately Rob's not here, so yeah, we'll just get on the way here. Like I mentioned, we do have that card in Canada where we're going to have that women's unification. That's going to be on Friday coming up here, the 13th. Clavel quite the favorite in that fight, but then we're going to move over to States from Verona, New York on January 14th. That's this coming Saturday. Headlined by F.A. Ajagba against Stefan Shaw. Also Guido Vianello against Jonathan Rice. But I'll tell you what, Steve, I like the fight that's open in this one. Got a good 130-pound clash between Adam Lopez and Abraham Nova. Nova taking that tough loss against Robesi Ramirez, but I mean, Ramirez is kind of his own animal. I don't know what to say about that one. I think I'm not saying either one of these guys is going to be a champion, but I think this is a well-matched fight, and it should entertain to start to kick it off before the heavyweights get in the ring.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it is a well-matched fight, actually. Lopez, despite his record, has been matched tough. He was put in with Stephen Fulton very early in his career. Only lost a majority to him. Got knocked out by Oscar Valdez. Gave a really good account of himself. Seem to remember he came in as a late notice opponent in that one as well at the time. No shame in that. And then he lost a majority a couple of fights ago to Isaac Dogbo. He has a win over William Encarnacion, who Abraham Nova knocked out. Nova was overmatched against Ramirez. Ramirez is a special talent. Absolutely beat him up. Really well-matched guys. Kind of siding with Lopez, man. I think he might pull this out. His experience, as I say, his records are for DJs, as a wise man once said. So very well-matched fight. Please do this one from Top Rank. Only a shame all three main fights are 10-rounders, but we'll not hold it against them. This is actually a good fight. You are quite correct.
Yeah, and I think it's a case where whoever wins, the opponent's the best victory on their resume at this point in time. So it's a good fight with Shakur going up to 135 pounds. 130 is a little bit open at this point in time. I wonder how Hector Luis Garcia is going to be. Hopefully he's not too dinged up after that left hand from Tank. We'll see what goes on with that. But we are going to be kicking it off with Guido Vianello and Jonathan Rice, a heavyweight battle with the limited and experienced Vianello taking on Rice, who has turned into quite the test for heavyweights as of recent times. This fight was really close in the books, and then it was pulled, so hopefully it's still on. Maybe they just didn't like the numbers they put up. Andy, what are you thinking in this one? Are you thinking the Italian kid is just waiting to be exposed?
Yeah, I think he is, mate. I mean, he has mixed with some decent amateurs in his time. He's took a few L's to Frazier Clarke. He's been in with some of the Uzbeks. I think he's been with Majidov, who's been in with Joshua and that as well. I just think he's just know that guy. He can step it up into the pro ranks. I think he probably wins against Jonathan Rice. I take everything you're saying that he has been. That guy's been a bit of kind of like workhorse for a few heavyweights. I think he lost to Ajagba as well. Did they know? So certainly it would be some sort of test for Vianello at this point. Who's just got that kind of like that's that typical European style and that. So I'm going to say Vianello will win on points, but at the same time, I don't expect him to look great doing it, to be fair. And I would not, for the life of me, be surprised if we do see him maybe take an L and maybe get dropped a couple of times along the way, because this guy, as I understand, he's got a bit of dig about him in that as well. So if Vianello can handle any pro heavyweight punches and that, especially having the smaller gloves on compared to the old the amateur gloves, which are more padded, more foam, kind of like protected and that. So we'll wait and see. But possibly maybe a wee upset on the cards, but I'm going to stick safe and say Vianello wins on points.
Vianello does have that majority draw with Kingsley Ibe in the 6th rounder 2020, right after the pandemic. I don't know. It's a tough one on this one. And Steve, I know triangle theories don't work. But I mean, Jonathan Rice has given some good work to some guys. He's been in there with Tony Ioka really early in his career. He's been in there with the guy who's going to be in the main event, both of them actually, Ajagba and Stefan Shaw. But I just, God, it's tough to tell with some of these heavyweights coming up, man. A lot of the time it's just what their chin is, and Rice can land some leather.
I think the conventional wisdom says that Jonathan Rice should definitely win this fight. Despite their respective records, Rice as a puncher, he knocked out Michael Polite Coffey, exposed him, beat him in the rematch as well. As the boys were saying in the chat, he's gone full-time now. He's a big unit. He's got a really good jab. You would really pick him against Vianello, who has flattered to deceive, looked terrible against Jay McFarlane with a tattooed face in that last fight. You mentioned the Kingsley eBay fight. I remember watching that. eBay just got in his face, threw a lot of shots, completely stuck it on him, and Vianello did not react very favourably. Andre Ward, Tim Bradley were very scathing of him. And yet, for some strange reason, I've picked in Joe Kennedy's prediction league, at least, which is obviously the combined prediction league now, Vianello to win on points. I don't really know why. I just think he's taken this fight. It's do or die for him. He's got a bit of dig on him. He can box. And I just fancy him to do it for some reason. But I say that is not conventional wisdom. You would say off their form guide and what they've shown so far, respectively, as professionals. Rice has been all over the place, been to France, fought Ioka, been to Canada, fought Matt Mudov. He went the 10 rounds with a Ajagba. He's got a good chin on him. Only the best fighters stop him. You really could make a case for Rice winning this fight, and I would not be surprised at all if he did. But something tells me Vianello is just going to have enough at the right times to outbox him and win a narrow decision. So I am going for Vianello, but yeah, it defies wisdom.
Well, you don't need to be wise, Steve. You won the prediction league last time. You just need to be right.
Doesn't matter what I do from now on, Matty.
Yeah, you got the victory in, right? You could just retire at this point in time, Steve. You just be one and done.
I might do.
Yeah. Why even fucking be here? Let's see here. So I think I'm going to go with Vianello too, but just to switch it up a little bit, I think I'm going to go with him getting the stoppage in this one.
Ooh, that would be a result now. That would be a statement.
Yeah, and oh my God, Rob, did you make it here, Rob? Did you make it? Rob.
What?
Welcome. You surprised me.
Well, it's hardly a surprise me turning up at this time, isn't it? I think it's more than expected now, isn't it? I have an approximate time for arrival for everything, pretty much work. Anything I have to be to, I'm generally around 60 to 90 minutes late, so I'm just on time by my schedule. So
well done. Well done.
No, thank you.
We're just picking right now.
Happy New Year, by the way, to everyone, to the boys and
Same to you, Rob. Same to you.
Yeah. I know you're sick of that now, isn't it? It's the 7th, like it doesn't count anymore, but still, fuck it. Happy New Year to the listeners as well, and fuck the listeners.
Well, and right now we're just going through our picks for the prediction league. The first fight there, Rob. We got Canelo against Jonathan Rice. It's a new year. The only thing that we're really changing on our end, we did a little bit of changes in with the Nutters League. But if you get a perfect score in any given week, you're going to get a bonus point, and you got to get the fighters and the method of victory right, and to get your bonus point. But if somebody's a huge underdog, Joe Kennedy and I are going to discuss it. There'll be some chance to lay some lumber on some double points opportunities this year too.
Listen, the Joe Kennedy League is like the fucking IBO title. Nobody really counts it. You know that way? It's just fucking there for decoration.
It's the only league now, isn't it, Martin? I think they've been rolled into one.
Oh, fuck it.
You're going to have to get in there, Rob. You're going to have to get in. You're going to have to get in the Nutters Messenger group because, like, all we do is talk shit about you, like, all the time. It's just us talking shit
I don't
about
think
Rob.
I've been invited.
We know you're not there.
Yeah, I don't think I've been invited, so it's it.
I'll let you in if you want, Rob. I didn't think you want to go in another group.
Yeah, well, listen.
Do you not get fed up with them?
if there's anything I need more of in 2023, it's group chats. What am I? I'm going for the Italian kid, the Italian stallion, to beat this guy because Rice has lost to Dempsey McKean. Now, whether that was a justifiable loss or a fucking legit loss, a loss to Dempsey McKean does not bode well for fucking pulling off a victory against a slightly favoured fucking hype job come up heavyweight. So with form to losing to a fucking hype job upcoming heavyweight, for Mr. Rice, I'm going to say that fucking Rice Baby loses this one by decision to the Italian stallion, who's been doing a lot of training with an old. I don't know if you heard about the changes to his training team.
No.
Yeah, no. He's now he's working with an old guy, seasoned boxing trainer from Pittsburgh. And he's learning to catch chickens, and he's doing a lot of fucking cardio work. He's running up a lot of stairs in Philly. Yeah. So he's fucking.
Kill you, Death Rock.
Up to now, his opponents have been handpicked, but I'm sure he's training hard for this one. So I'm Vianetta by decision on this one.
All right, so we got 3 Vianello decisions and 1 Vianello knockout for this one coming up, and then in the main event. Again, I think this one, with the change in opponent, with Oscar Rivas dropping out, it's actually still very interesting. And it's interesting in the books. F.A. Ajagba taking on Stephen Shaw, roughly even in the books. Actually, Shaw opening up a small underdog and slowly working his way up to a slight favorite, I think, at this point in time. Steve, I've had a chance to look at Stefan Shaw a little bit here and there, and he's an interesting fighter. He's got some fluidity. He switches a bit. He puts his punches together pretty well. I think there's something lacking at the top level, but obviously we know there's something lacking with the Ajagba at the top level. It's obviously not knockout power. He's got that in spades. We've seen him reel off some real bangers. But I think Ajagba is in with a real quality boxer in this case, and a kid who's on the way up. Before I think he will meet someone that'll take him down. But I just don't think it's Ajagba. Where are you leaning on this one, Steve?
I think he was gone for a pace 20.
Oh, go ahead, Rob. I'm looking at the schedule, so I don't see the message.
Yeah. I haven't really seen much of the other guy. I've seen Ajagba, and I think he's decent, so I'm going to go Ajagba late stoppage for this one.
You know, and we've seen Ajagba with some decisions over the years, Rob, but I feel like if he's going to get a knockout in this one, I think it's coming early. I think if he doesn't take Shaw out by the 4th or the 5th, if he hasn't put a couple of knockdowns in the bank, I think that Shaw could definitely take this decision. Andy, what are you thinking?
Well, I've not seen anything of Shaw, mate, to be fair, so I can't really comment. Other than the fact is that Ajagba seems to be kind of languishing around about a certain level, and it's not a good level. I would say he's fighting about the gatekeeper status at this point. Lost to Frank Sanchez. I remember the fight against the Georgian guy. Was it Kinkladze or Kladze? His name was. It was fucking trench warfare back toe.
Georgie Kinkladze.
Georgie Kinkladze, aye, Man City legend. Ali Demiresian, I just pulled up his record there. Michael Wallach. Amir Mansour, who must have been like 80 at the time of that fucking fight. Curtis Harper. Look, these are no good names, and I think he's fighting the guy who I believe was a long-standing amateur. He's turned pro in over the last decade there, and he's had like 18 fights. What type of pro is he? Is he active? I don't know.
He's a St. Louis kid. The Spinks family is real high on him.
Right. Hopefully he's got something about him at least. I know he was National Golden Gloves semi-finalist, or maybe a runner-up. I think he fought Cam F. Awesome. So to be fair, I think probably Ajagba wins. Based on nothing, I've never seen a bit of Stephen Shaw. I don't know if he's got power. You say he's got a bit of fluidity about him, so maybe he's got something about him. So I'll probably side with caution. Maybe say that Ajagba wins on points.
Steve, where are you going on this one?
I'm going for Ajagba like the boys as well. kind of thinking points because Ajagba runs out of ideas, as you suggested, as the fights go on. But I think he's going to knock Shaw out. It might be a Brian Howard kind of knockout as well. Shaw's okay when you're standing in front of him, but I think were you saying he was a decent amateur there, Matthew? Were you about the Golden Gloves?
Andy said that.
Yeah, about Shaw.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realise that, you see, because from what I've seen of him, he's quite stiff, throws with the shoulders, real kind of robot arm punches. If you stand in front of him, he will blast you out. And I think Ajagba will be long, lean, get the shots off and through that guard and knock him out. I'm surprised to hear the Spinks saying they're high on him because, like I say, he looks a bit stiff from what I've seen. So I think he's a knockout waiting to happen. A big right hand, the one that knocked Brian Howard out, is coming over the top about the fifth round. So I'm going for Ajagba.
Ajagba knockout?
Yeah.
All right. So we got 2 Ajagba points there because you said points, didn't you, Rob?
Oh,
I think he said late stoppage, didn't he?
Yeah, I was going KO late stoppage.
Okay, so we got 2 KOs, 1 decision. I'm going Shaw on points. So I got Shaw on points on this one.
Fuck me, it's a bit early to go fucking balls deep now. Fucking Shaw, what? Surprised you don't go for the draw, man.
Nah, I ain't going for the draw. I really think Ajagba.
He's still in it. He's still in it at the moment. Give him 6 weeks and he draws all over the fucking place.
It's a new season, man. It's a new season.
Ajagba is really, really limited, and we've seen him in where his level has gotten at yet. We haven't seen where Shaw's is at yet. Yeah, I don't think he deserved a stoppage victory over Fat Joey, but he was. I mean, Joey couldn't touch him. And Dweko is a good fighter. He's a good gatekeeper.
Dwight James Toney.
Yeah. In all of his fucking glory jiggliness. I honestly, I'm going
That's
Shaw
me.
on this one.
We have one White James Toney. Thank you.
Here, Matty, one of our American correspondent, Chase Athletics, has thrown in here. He's making me doubt myself. He says, go distance, don't sleep on Shaw. Shaw can box. So that might be a little game changer.
I told you, I'm the only one to pick your distance.
I'll stick with FA.
All right.
Matt's going to be chasing the pack within fucking the first 3 weeks, man. Fucking hell.
Well, I picked the same fighter as you guys. I just didn't go with the method, and then I picked a different fighter. So we'll see what's happening here. I actually got a chance to watch a little bit of Shaw over the last couple of days. So I feel all right in this one. I mean, Ajagba can punch. And like I said, if I was going to bet this and just kind of straddle it with something, I think you could go with Shaw on points and Ajagba knockout, and you could get better than plus money on either of them. But if I'm leaning to Ajagba knockout, I think I'm going to split the fight in 2, and I'm going to take him in the first half by knockout. I don't see him getting a stoppage late in the fight. Just my feeling. We will see.
And Matty as well. Ajagba can be vulnerable. Frank Sanchez dropped him with an accurate shot. I remember that Kaladze fight. Kaladze had him rocking a couple of times, although Kaladze is a bit of a banger, so he can be hurt and Shaw can punch. So
yeah. I mean, it's heavyweights too. I mean, even the lightest punching heavyweight can give you a fucking fit if he hits you clean. So
apart from Zuri Lawrence, the heavyweight who retired with no knockouts.
That's right.
Remember him?
Yeah, he had a lot of decision victories in his career.
24, 15, and 4. Never knocked anybody out in any of the 24 wins.
Well, good for him. Yeah. Maybe he was against violence or something like that, and he didn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, like Yuri Foreman.
Yeah, there you go. I guess it's a good thing that Rob, that you got in here when you did, because I guess it's going to be a short go. Steve, if you're ready, value of the week.
Well, you don't want to be talking about the fights, asshole.
Oh, fine. Oh, that's right. Let's stop everything and let Rob recap the fights of the last few weeks. Rob, after you.
Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, seriously, please.
No, I am the I suppose the main one is the Tank and Garcia one. I thought it was a really interesting fight, to be honest with you. Obviously, everything played out in the background with Davis over the last few weeks has kind of added to the hype. And not that that's generally the type of publicity that he wants, but it is the Tank Davis show. After all, I'm still very, very hesitant to say that this Ryan Garcia fight is next for a number of reasons. I think there's still a massive chance of Garcia popping for something once we go into testing. Once we go into camp territory, that's just a hunch. Nothing to do with the fact that he looks like fucking G.I. Joe at the moment. And then Davis still has to fucking go on trial only for this fucking 14 counts of hit and run or something, isn't there? I think the domestic situation is going to resolve itself, but it'll probably pop up in value of the week later on. But to get to the fight, I thought Garcia came to fight. He showed in the fight why he was able to get results against the likes of Colbert and beat him out of sight. But as well, I thought Ira Spence made a really good point that Colbert was lighting him up at stages, but he just can't punch. And all throughout the kind of build up to it, I thought that Tank would find the target at some stage, and then we'd see what Garcia is made of. And he was in the fight. I thought the scorecards were a little bit fucking pro Tank Davis up to that point. I thought it was a shootout at that point. It's just that Garcia hasn't got the same type of pop, but he was able to find Tank as well, and that's kind of given me. I don't know. I'd have to, as I said, I believe this fucking Ryan Garcia and Tank fight happens when the two of them are on the ring walk on the way to the ring. And then I'll give it more thought, but I do think it's more of a close fight than lots of people suggest, based on how hittable Tank Davis has looked against Isaac Cruz, Raleigh, and then Garcia again. I think there's times that the time is, I think, I've said all along since Tank's fucking breakout fight, I've been a massive fan since Pedraza, against in the UK. When he had his, I sound like Floyd Mayweather. I'm all over the fucking shop tonight, aren't I? I think I've been a Tank Davis fan for many years at this stage. But I do think it's time to start questioning the resume a little bit. I mean, Rolly Romero got the fight because he opened his mouth, didn't he? Cruz was a last-minute replacement who kind of did more than people thought he could do. And then Garcia actually gave him a lot more trouble. So I think he's a really little guy. He could probably, his best weight is probably 130. I don't think he belongs up around the 140 and 147s like he's been floating around for the optics for his record and stuff. But they've done a masterstroke with him, Ellerby and all that, and Heyman and Floyd. They pulled a masterstroke in actually making him into a massive star. He's now the kind of one American fighter that kind of generates the buzz and the interest for the general public and the casual over there now. So he's put himself in a great position. Ryan Garcia versus Tank is a mega fight, and it's a fight I really want to see. Will it happen? Doubt it, because I wouldn't hang my hat on any super fight happening these days. But I do want to see it, and I think it'd be great for the sport. And if Tank can beat Ryan Garcia, he becomes an even bigger star. But if Ryan Garcia can beat Tank, he's out of here. He's a mega star. So that's really interesting proposition. I think Shakur Stevenson beats the living shit out of all of them. But that'll be up at 140 if that's to happen now. So, look, really good night of action. The other stuff was kind of predictable. Boots Ennis, from before, it's mad how recency bias can play part into all your judgments and your decisions and your predictions and stuff. Because before that fight last night, I would have thought Boots Ennis gives Spence and Crawford their toughest night, and maybe he still does. But looking at him last night, I would think, based off that performance, that Crawford would find a way to win against him. He's 30-0 now. The resume doesn't really stack up, I don't think, to his ability. I know he's finding it tough to get opponents. Nobody wants him. He's in the Who Wants You club. He has no title, and he is a killer. But I thought he looked pedestrian enough at times last night. That's maybe his opponent is probably better than I'm giving him credit for. And he was in survival mode. The other fight with not mad at the result either way. I thought it was an exciting fight. I won't spend too much time on it. Let's get the value of the week. It is 9:45 after all. So.
All right. Steve?
Thank you, Matthew. Just quick shout out to John Mulhall, who's thrown in €11.99 there into the super chat. So thank you very much, John. He has donated before as well, so very much appreciated to you. Also, Matty, I will give a shout out to our new Patreon subscribers this week. Joshua has joined us. He's in the Nutters group as well. So he's Adam Hughes. And
I don't know who he is, but he's not nice.
He's not nice, exactly. Well, no, he seems quite nice, actually, Rob, to be fair. Gary Taylor as well, who has done a pledge increase. So thank you very much to you, Gary. We have a video to play us into, Value of the Week for episode 505. Just before Christmas, Manny Pacquiao had some kind of exhibition. I don't know whether he's fighting a YouTuber or an influencer or a TikToker or something like that. But the ring announcer, I don't know if anybody saw this, Boxfet Gray put it up on his Twitter. The ring announcer was having a great time. Let's have a little look.
Ladies and gentlemen, lovers and fighters, Association,
He's baked.
Mabuhay, and welcome to the 2022 special boxing match between DKU and Manny Pacquiao. A match the whole world is waiting to see. Oh yeah! Let's get it!
You see me he says, let's get it. What's he talking about? Another line?
Oh yeah! Let's get it! So, he sounds like me when Matty comes to me for a prediction of two fighters I haven't seen.
I'm telling you, man. He was 2 seconds away from acting like Hulk Hogan on the old snort with fucking Randy Savage in the promos back in the day, man.
You're like a Poundland Sean Gibbons, isn't he?
Oh, exactly. That's who he looked like, yeah, didn't he?
You all here for the fucking 2022 special boxing match? It's like, Jesus, they're putting anything on now. Fucking hell.
Okay,
the world was waiting to see,
I would
Rob.
love to know what he was on.
He's living his best life, Andy.
Aye, not many are doing that these days.
Oh, fair play to Mr. Mike Yancey, I believe his name is. Right, let's get on with it then. WBC.
Mike Yancey.
Transgender boxing.
Patsy, I think. Chasing the Patsies, I think that's what he did.
WBC applying the transgender category, including this fella. Looks a bit like Julian Williams, doesn't it, that? In the transgender category, so it's all kicking off. But there's been a few choice comments, not least Andy from the Bomber. He says, listen here, this is now dangerous. There is a reason men and women don't compete against each other in combat sports. This can't continue to go on. If you want to identify as a woman, that's fine. Just don't be doing it as a professional or amateur in the boxing ring. It wasn't just the Bomber. There was other comments thrown in here from Jamie Cox. He said, I don't know how I'm getting critiqued by saying transgenders have no place for our sport or society. Should be a separate island for all of them. Makes me wonder how many you deceiver trannies there are. Mental health jobs and high field boxing. Just quickly, Andy jumped in on him and he said, dangerous to society. It's like saying you're a human but want to be accepted as a kangaroo.
A separate island, so just like the Brits did to the folks out to Australia.
What promotional outfit is Jamie Cox with? Does he know anybody with access to a private island anywhere?
Aye, under the belt promotions. But what was it? Someone actually put the actual question to Suleiman, actually, and the way it read to me, as I was like knee deep in drugs at the time. Basically, it made like these fights would never happen. Like a man and a transgender woman, or whatever it would just simply wouldn't happen.
Yeah, he made it quite clear that they're only fighting each other.
Yeah.
And then everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Tony fucking didn't read the whole tweet anyway. He was straight in, condemning everyone.
Oh, it's deep.
Oh, class. That island comment though, Andy Man sending him off to Australia.
That's what I thought. But straight away, I'm thinking about the British side. Yeah. So I'm thinking about it made sense to me because I think back about it, like all the violence you see going on in Australia these days and at boxing shows and all these fucking arseways. I don't know if anybody's seen there was a soccer game for Matty's wanted a word. The fucking fans jumped on the field and hit the goalkeeper with a fucking bucket. Saying to myself, that's the British attitude. That's what we deported over there, by the way. Fucking savages. That's fun. I've also seen Mad Max.
Mad Maxine.
Yeah. All kicking off. Anyway, back to reality, Matty. Here's one for you. Zab Judah is promoting undisputed champion of pleasure, extra safe condoms. Get in there.
Easy end, by the way.
Certainly wasn't going to be Adrian Broner on that box.
They wouldn't have enough room on the box for Adrian Broner.
Good old
Gonna get my undisputed condoms from my Magnum Dong here.
Oh yeah, good old AB. Ozzy's not with us, but Dave Allen's back in action again. This will be Porky Heaven, the return of the White Rhino, Dave Allen, against Billy the Kid Pickles for the WBF International Lightweight title.
Billy the Kid Pickles. Look at the size of him, man. Dave Allen's a heavyweight. That Pickles looks like he's a fucking lightweight. Is that who he's fighting, by the way? No,
An
it can't.
absolute
No,
disgrace.
it's got to be something different fight on the
That's what
card.
you say, man.
They're not fighting each other. They're fighting in separate contests, Andy. Billy the Kid Pickles, I think he's a lightweight. And Dave has lost a lot of weight, but he's not quite down that far yet.
Did he change his name to Billy Pickles, or some poor bunch of sons of bitches been stuck with the familial name of Pickles throughout fucking history?
Oh, I thought it might be Pickles the dog. It's found the
The World FA Cup.
No, there's the World Cup, the Jules Remy trophy back in '66.
They dropped the ball calling him Billy the Kid, didn't they? They should have called him, when he's a lightweight, they should have called him Lickle Billy Pickles. Baby thing.
Well, he's forcing himself into the scene at 135 if he wins that title. Fight of the year, boxer. They've got Taylor against Cattrall as their fight of the year, Andy. All of our fighters continue to deliver on the grandest of stages in such a relentless sport. Here are your winners. And the fight of the year, Taylor versus Cattrall.
I wouldn't say it was fight of the year, but what I would say it was probably robbery of the year.
Yeah.
And you were all on the WhatsApp when I said it, by the way. I think I shouted it out straight because they took forever to get the scorecards out, and I said to you guys, he's getting fucking jobbed here. And lo and behold, it was just so obvious. Once you get a decision that's going to take forever to get reported, yeah, you know it's going to go the other way.
Yeah. Proving once and for all that you know who loses when two Scots fight each other? The sport of boxing.
Aye, well.
Cattrall's not Scottish.
I don't think Cattrall's Scottish, Matty.
I thought he was.
He's from Chorley, isn't he? He's Aussie's neighbour.
He's Aussie's,
Aye.
It's coming in your ears.
Yeah.
Aye, he's a country squire.
Absolute disgrace.
Are you sure?
Aye.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking this up. I swear to God,
It's fairly well established at this stage, Matty, that he's not Scottish.
He always kiss my balls, man. He is now.
Listen, Matty, we're not like the Irish. We don't claim every cunt that fucking claims ancestry. A great granny's father.
Tony Cascarino.
Well, yeah.
How about this? If Cattrall wins, he could be Scottish, and it will make Taylor fucking English then.
Aiden McGeady.
You're trying to say Andre Ward and Earl Spence are not fucking Irish champions? What's the matter with you?
He's about as Irish as Muhammad Ali claimed to be, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Here, Andy, there's a good one from Ryan Deal. He said you need Brian Jonathan Butler to talk about the Pickles fight. Oh, dear.
Amazing.
Get the old tune out.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Right, anyway, moving on. A food-based theme. Again, no Aussie here, unfortunately. He's Big John. He's had a New Year's Chinese or 13. Plenty of Chinese for Big John. He's been doing the Instagrams apparently this week, and somebody asked him, have you watched Avatar 2 yet, John? So, all the big questions coming out then, boys. All the big questions.
I must admit, Aussie did his best to do a Big John during New Year or Christmas time, as we all saw in the WhatsApp message. Aussie's putting a big order in the fucking Chinese, 95 quid order.
Yeah, but Aussie's order was for fucking 7 people, man.
Exactly. go for one person. And then he sends us the video where we caption the end going, Bosh. I should turn a fucking club to his fucking head, man, and boshed it.
Bosh indeed. Have you watched Avatar 2 yet? If you did, Matty, you might have seen this young lady. Looks like something out of Avatar 2, doesn't it? Shannon on the filters.
Yeah, I mean, if you fucking actually saw her on Tinder like that, you might swipe right as opposed to, normally.
Catfish, man. Fucking catfish.
He's swiping all right. BT Sports, Baturbia versus Yard. The boys aren't looking too well there, Baturbia and Yard. I think they're
weight drained, Especially Yard, man. Fucking hell. Looks like you said the fucking same thing I had. Fucking hell.
Oh, not too well. One person who's not weight drained is this fellow. It's AB. He says, my next fight is Red Catch. I will be champion in my next 2 fights. First, I want Regis Prograis, of course. Get him out of the way, then knock them all out. I got to be undisputed before I'm done, says Adrian Broner. There you are.
He is done. Trust me.
AB for ambitious.
Well, to be fair, it's pretty much not disputed that you're a fucking dickhead. So, I mean,
absolute bollocks, man. He's washed. I'd be willing to take money off anybody right now over his next couple of fights that he takes an L sometime soon. And if Regis Prograis would kick the fuck out of him, man. I'm telling you right now.
I was going to say, if he somehow gets a gift against fucking Red Catch, and if he makes the weight at 140 miraculously anyways.
Is that 140?
Then Prograis would beat the ever-loving shit out of that guy. Ever-loving shit.
Got a nice set of teeth, though, hasn't he, AB?
Aye. Nice set of kids, I know.
into Turkey.
Yep.
Anyway, Isaac Warrior Low was out in force. Pele died during the week, or last week, I think it was. He says, "Rest in peace, the greatest football player of all times. I never knew you, so many fans never did, but you are a hero." And then he tagged in Ray Parlour.
It's Arientes de Nascimento.
Did you see that fucking Parlour responded to it and it was like, thanks, I'm still alive, Isaac, by the way.
Oh, good stuff. Huge offer, by the way, on a hair transplant, £1,999. Maximum grafts, 1-day procedure, London, Leeds, Manchester, Romford, Birmingham, Bromley. They are, Andy. Marcus Morrison.
You're asking me if I don't want a hair transplant.
He's getting a needle hair transplant.
I get it, Andy. It's only £2,000, man. Come on.
£2,000. Aye, fucking can't. I'll not be feeling £2,000 after. I can guarantee you that. But I'll tell you what, man. I can remember seeing a video. My mate sent me a video. He was on the plane. And he texts me and he says, "Look, I'm on my way back from Turkey here." And he says, "There's at least 15 or 20 guys on this fucking plane with headbands on." And says, "And they're all bleeding at the top of their heads. They've had fucking hair transplants, man." I was reading somewhere. I don't know how real it is. I don't know if it's true or not. But I seen something somewhere online. I see if I can find it quickly. But there was Turkey was reporting that they had something like 100,000 blokes go to Turkey to get fucking hair transplants last year alone. I'm like, fuck me, fucking hell, 100,000 guys, man, insecure about their fucking hair. Fuck me, get a life.
In honour of my love for Avni Yildirim, Andy, I should have gone and got a hair transplant in Turkey when I won the Prediction League.
Yeah, true, mate. True. I think Robert would be the next man we're going out shortly.
He's trying to drag me into this. Like, it's not happening. It's still here anyway.
It is, man. I'm telling you.
Still here.
The camera angles you pose at sometimes, man. You're trying to hide.
Come on, look at it. Hey, right. The listeners, well, look, ball, lads. Come on. We can do an aerial view. Look.
Oh, hang on. Here we are.
Well, here we go. This is
See,
he's grown it out.
See, next time, what you need to do, Steve, is next time Rob shaves the beard, just have him save his beard hair and you can glue it to your head.
I thought Rob was ginger, by the way. That looks black. I'm sure that's a fucking final rug he's got on his head there, by the way.
Got some of that Spanish blood there, Rob? Sneak in.
Well, it would make sense, Matty, if I did.
He's looking well.
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, just Rob is washed up on many doorsteps, just the way his ancestors washed up on the seaside.
Right, Connor Ben's been beefing with Gervonta Davis. Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house, little man, says Connor. Gervonta responded less courteously. Get off them drugs and come holler at me. I'll show a glass house and a glass jaw, you fuck bum. Cold bum at that.
Ooh.
Hey, by the way,
Connor Ben grew up in fucking with heated seats. He's not ready for the smoke of a fucking verbal warfare with a kid from Baltimore, is he? Like Connor Ben.
I'm telling you right now. Fucking Connor Ben needs to go on every single drug he can get his hands on because he will get absolutely fucked up if he fights that fight, by the way. I'm telling you, Gervonta Davis will fucking ruin him. He'll break his jaw again. He'll be like that. Cedric, what was that French boy that he fought?
Cedric Peno.
Cedric Peno, that's the one. Yeah. It'll be worse than that, man. It'll be an absolute embarrassment. And Eddie's fucking cash cow will be fucking doing the drain.
Well, nobody with their right mind would make that fight, Andy. Apart from, of course, Eddie. I love the fight. I love the fight. Why not? Gervonta was boxed at 140. I'm sure he doesn't mind fighting up at 147. Conor Ben's going to return either early 2023 or mid 2023.
Who the fuck does Eddie think he is? He's going to make demands at Gervonta Davis, who can fucking sell out any arena that he wants in America right now. He's headlining fucking Showtime cards, pay-per-view events, and Eddie Hearn's going to tell him, "Oh, you need to fight Conor Ben, you have to beat 147. Fuck you, bitch. You'll be doing what you're told. You'll be taking the money. You'll be coming down the weight. That's what will be happening."
I'll tell you what. It's interesting that he's able to tell us when Conor Ben is going to return. When's Eddie going to return? It's been awful quiet, hasn't he?
Oh, he's still trying to get back on Sky, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah, I think something like that. It's almost like he's after disappearing off the face of the earth over the last few weeks. Evening, Ed. I've noticed he's has anyone else noticed about Edward, by the way? He's dressing a lot younger these days, isn't he? He's wearing Jordans and that, trainers. It's almost like he's trying to look a lot younger all of a sudden.
Trying to become the Wizard of Oz.
He's at that point in his life, mate, that he's trying to hold on to that bit of youth that he's still got, that he knows it's just eking away. And
holding on to that bit of youth with both hands.
Yeah.
And then momentarily, momentarily he feels like he's got to push it away, but then he has to pull it right back, and then pushes it away, and then pulls it right back very quickly.
Back onto Sky's shorts. I mean, Sky Sports. Sorry.
Get a life. Everyone accusing Eddie Hearn of having an affair. Get a life.
Shout out to Ryan Deal. He's going strong. Joe Kennedy alerted me to this one. Teofimo Lopez said, "This motherfucker calling out my name, knowing damn well at this, his new signing with Pabellum, it's quote unquote linked with MTK's main guy. So that means anyone that is in cahoots with MTK is blacklisted from the USA and etc. It's up to the WBC to see what's next at this point. Purse bid." And Regis Progro responded and said, "How am I blacklisted from the US? My last fight was in LA. Last time I checked, that was a part of the United States. If you don't want to fight, just say that instead of making up bullshit." He is right, Matty. I think the LA is just about part of the United States still, isn't it?
Yeah, as much as many people in this country would like to think that California is not part of our nation, it is. So, he fought in the United States, about 6 weeks ago. Tio is scared to shit of Prograis, is my hunch, and if he's just going to keep running his mouth and making himself look like an ass, you know what, Steve? It's probably better if he runs his mouth and makes himself look like an ass outside of the ring than inside of the ring at this point in time, because dude has got to get his head back.
Yeah, well said. It'd be a good fight, that. I would look forward to that one at least. Matty, here's another one for you, actually. Dominic nominated Barry McGuigan for this one. He's talking about Savannah Marshall against Clarissa Shields. He says, "I gave Marshall a chance. I thought she might hurt Shields and possibly drop her. It was another lesson in underestimating the value of fast hands over power. Shields reminded me so much of Sugar Ray Leonard. She never let Marshall get set. She used her speed to unsettle Marshall and dominated throughout. Blah, blah, blah." Sugar Ray Leonard comparison there is getting a Bellew of the Week nomination for Dominic. Matty, what do you say?
That is such a fucking terrible comparison. Such a terrible fucking comparison. The way fucking Sugar Ray moved around the ring, the fluidity of his combinations, fucking, why'd you even ask me, Steve? Like, this doesn't even need comment. This is just like, yeah, this is just stupid, and we should move on. What a fucking asshat.
Pity you didn't think like that before you came up with chicks with digs.
Chicks with wigs?
Oh, right. Oh, it's all kicking off. What else have we got here? We've already nominated Don King. Hopefully he doesn't get us a ban next week like he did last time with his shitty video. Let freedom ring for the Ukraine. Don's into his 90s. He's still going strong. And finally, yes, we've cut that clip before, Andy. I think we played it a few weeks ago.
Right, no worries, mate.
Also, this is a cracker coming up here. Do you remember Hayden H-Bomb Wright, Andy? Yes. He missed weight by 50 pounds.
I remember him, I'm Australian.
He's back. One of the boys put us in the Nutters group earlier. The last hurrah on the Gold Coast, Australia. Hayden H-Bomb Wright is returning to fight for the old buck title.
Yeah.
The old buck belt was a South African title, was it not?
I don't know.
It fucking was. It was an old buck brewery. I'm sure it was South African. But by the way, how fake is that picture? Because you just know there's no belt in the history of boxing that can fit round about that fucker's waist. Look at it. It even looks like it's painted on them.
Poster from Rich Planet.
Fucking Jesus Christ. We should actually, Matty, you should actually have a prediction for that weekend, actually, what weight he comes in at. He's a cruiserweight, is he, no?
Yeah, he's already slimming down.
Fuck, for what, 300 pounds?
For the last hurrah? Fucking, this seems like a pointless time to get into shape.
For the one subtitle. I think it's not the old title.
RIP one sub.
Jesus.
Oh dear. I know that I forgot to cut the David Hay one, or I cut it and didn't upload it. But yeah, for him and the through pull, we mentioned that earlier. That was a good
match. My God.
Is that a Bellew of the Week? We should all be celebrating him.
Nah, dude. Listen, any man, right? We'll leave the Muslims to the side because they think they need to have, some of them think they need to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 women over that, right? But David Hay is the biggest shit artist in the history of this fucking earth, right? He's got the gift of the gab, all that stuff. But anyway, he's been out in a relationship with one of these women for 2 years, and he's somehow managed to talk this other woman, say, "Listen, you fancy having?" No, listen, everybody to themselves. Well, hopefully they're happy in that. But this has got no good in the end coming to it. Like, I'm telling you right fucking now. Right, this is going to end up in absolute tears. No, mate.
It.
Do you think both of them might be worried that he might cheat on them? But it's not. I wouldn't mind. Like, it's not like just two regular Joe Schmo birds. Like, this is Una Healy from the Saturdays. Is the addition that he got in the transfer window. I don't know if anyone, some of the UK listeners might be as familiar with Una, but she's a bit of a star in Ireland in her own right. She's got a very interesting accent. So she was in a group called the Saturdays, but she's from Tipperary, so she used to pronounce it like the Saturdays.
Tipperary.
Yeah, it's a long way from Tipperary, actually. David Hay in a trouble. He's obviously attracted to the Irish brogue Hay, Una and the Saturdays. So she's retired from the Saturdays now, and she's in a trouble. And she's looking forward. It's their year, she said. She's looking forward to our year, so that she's pictured with the three of them, with his fucking top off him, looking as smug as fuck. He's in the top 5 pound for pound list for me now. Now, you know what I mean? Whatever I said about him as a heavyweight, I take it all back. He's one of the fucking greatest of all time.
As Joe Kennedy says, let's say this would want a second missus. Me, Steve, have probably got 30 years between us experience in marriage, right? Yeah. I'm telling you right now, if I want a headache, I'd rather go and fucking face Mike Tyson right now rather than take a second bird on.
Yeah, that's what I said. Fucking imagine having 2 fucking headaches. Jesus Christ. You know what?
Mate, you need to sit and talk to them as well and cuddle them and all that stuff.
Well, I think he's kind of banking on the two of them talking to each other, but that's going to turn to trouble because they're going to start ganging up on him and he's going to have no say in the house. He's just going to emasculate the haymaker eventually. Take his braids out.
Rob, I'm listening to the dissenters on this one, and I just get this feeling that they're talking from a place of envy because they don't need 2 hands to count up their sexual partners throughout their life.
Well, no, listen. As an experience, as a guy who's experienced on the trouble scene, I have to fucking share how difficult this is to pull it off, because I pulled it off myself multiple times, but apparently you're supposed to tell both of them about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You don't want to show them your phone either.
They're both supposed to be in on it. I didn't know that, but this is the new rules that the haymaker is setting down for 2023, and I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. Fucking people, live your life the way you want to. You know, if you have campaigns for people to go and fucking live life the way they want to, and who should be judged? Definitely not the haymaker for the trouble. Anyway, I'm all for this.
David Hayes got like a 12-year-old son. What's he got? And David Hayes said, I've told my family. What's his 12-year-old son going to be thinking?
I have something to aim for. Life can be, you can be happy in life.
He's going to turn into a wee incel, that one, isn't he?
His stepmom?
No, he's not. He's going to be the reverse of the incel, because he's going to be like, God damn it. You can not only have 1, you can have 2. Fucking, you guys you're out of your fucking mind, Andy. I think you're speaking from a place of envy. What are you talking about? I've been dating a gal since March.
Dating a gal, no less.
Yeah.
I hear she's a real swell gal.
The Dr. FMG says, think of how clean the kitchen is.
In the house.
The homemaker 2.0.
Can you imagine? Every time he turns around, he's got to have a sandwich in front of him.
Look at my Lithgow's comment. He was scoring both level in bed.
He's a great. Fucking tell you what, man. Team Hay from here on in, mind. The haymaker has it, man.
Team toe for life, baby.
I worked with a lassie who was in a polyamorous relationship, baby. Some of the shit she would tell us, man, it was just outrageous. And I was like 10 years past my prime by this point. I'm saying to myself, thank fuck, I'm too old for this now, man.
Danny Glover. I wonder, would David Hay, setting the precedent for troubles, encourage any other celebrities in the boxing spotlight to try that approach? You know what I mean? Maybe just have them both in on it. You know what I mean? That could be the answer to all problems presented in the near future.
As Ryan Deal says, we need to get Steve Bunce's take on this. There's no a better expert placed in your panel could tell us.
Speak on this than Steve Bunce.
What I want to see happen is I want to see another boxing throuple happen. And I know that Kel's got his thing going on with Ebbs, but let's see him snatch Sky out from underneath Eddie. And I just did provide me so much information.
No, that's Chris. That's what's his name. Chris. What's his name? He's going to do that. He's going to be the man that's going to do that. Chris Glover. No, not Chris Glover.
Oh, unrivaled work.
What's his name? Chris
Lloyd.
Chris Lloyd. That's the one. Does all that research.
Unrivaled work.
There we go.
Maybe Orlando. let's not go there.
Yusuf
Mack. No,
Dog pound.
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Right, let's go.
I think it's up that rabbit hole, Steve.
Oh dear. Anyway, quick recap then. I know, in fact, has anybody got any nominations first of all before we do our recap? Andy, starting with you.
Yeah, as you know, I've missed a few weeks and that, so I don't know, maybe these are old ones, but Teofimo Lopez is on Twitter early January. All those jokers lined up with the mob ties in my sport, all for what? For security, for paper that the white men print, the pandemic or the plandemic sure had it you all shook. My skin is thick, the rest is halfway crooks. Listen to Eminem, but it sounds it. Teofimo is linked with the God ties. Fuck with you and you gone, you know, hashtag. I mean, yeah. You leave that one for saying
makes a lot of reasonable points if you ask me, Steve.
The pandemic being one of them.
It's time to start asking yourself some questions.
One for the WBC. I seen Rodney Berman for South Africa, the South African promoter, tweeting out that Kevin Larenya against Rihad Merah for Belgium has now been allocated as a final eliminator for the WBC Bridgerweight title. I tweeted him saying, a final eliminator? Why? The fucking title's vacant. Just fucking fight. Rivas is retired, isn't he? And one that I don't know, I maybe brought this one up, but I kind of mind. Remember, Regis Prograis was going absolutely off his tits after his last fight. I deposited my check last Monday while I was in LA. Today, the bank emailed me to say the check had bounced because of insufficient funds. Somebody better find out what's going on before I fucking flip out.
He got paid, Andy, apparently.
He get paid, all right. That's
yeah,
good.
He did, yeah.
It was over $1 million, actually, so thank fuck. That's all I've got, Steve.
Good stuff. Matty, any from you, please?
No, I was gonna do that TO one, but you guys got me on it, so
lovely stuff. And Rob, anything from you?
Oh yeah. Maddie is to blame for this. Poor old Danny Swift Garcia. 15 hours ago on Twitter, my first time betting today, and I won a parlay. Andrade, Villa, Ennis, and Davis. And he's posted his betting receipts now. So fucking Maddie's funny. Maddie Swift Garcia Maddie Swift Leonardo is after turning Danny Swift Garcia into a degenerate gambler.
What kind of odds was he getting on that? Like,
he's not a degenerate yet, Rob.
Fucking bet 5 to get 1. Jesus
Rob,
Christ.
he's not a degenerate yet. He's not betting for the draw in any fight shit, mate.
Pussy.
And then Dave Lee, shout out to Dave Lee for breaking this news exclusively while we're on air. The Big John UK tour has been announced with something like 15 dates in all kinds of exotic locations like Southampton, Plymouth, Norwich, Basildon, Exeter, Nottingham, Romford, Gloucester and Hull. So get your tickets soon for the Big John UK tour. He's pointing at a picture of a cocktail glass on the poster, and it just has Bosch loads in the background. So get your tickets. I'm not sure how much the price. Dave hasn't enlightened us on what the cost of these tickets are now for the Big John UK tour, but I'm on board. I wonder will he go
to Scotland though? Good Chinese restaurants up here.
Is he going to Scotland?
He's going to Scotland.
No, he's not checked it. No.
No Wales. Oh, there's a bit of Wales. Is there no Wales either? It's
no Ireland.
Tour, basically.
No, nothing.
See that? He argues that But xenophobia going on there, I think.
Probably. Bogus UK tour there for Big John. I wonder will he go head to head with the other Big John on any of his tours? He's unlikely to be on a tour, isn't he, Big John Fury?
It was like the time Billy Collins did his tour of Scotland. They actually called it the World Tour of Scotland.
Oh, and while we're on the Big John, we might as well get to the fucking son, Tommy Fury. Like, for fuck's sake, would you just retire? Like,
you should shut up, man.
Retire, man. Retire. You don't just come out and say you don't fancy it against Jake Paul. The minerals have gone, and you don't fancy it. First, we had him knowing that he's facing sanctions and can't go to the US. He went and he brought a cameraman with him to try and board the plane into the US and was refused after signing to fight Jake Paul. So couldn't fight Jake Paul. Then what's he do in his next fight? He has an exhibition back, misses weight. The opponent can't get paid. They kick him out of the hotel and he fights somebody in a glorified spar. And then Jake Paul calls his bluff and says, right, I'll come to Manchester. We'll do it February 18th. What does he say? I'm not getting paid enough money. You want to pay YouTubers more than £1 million, and I'm a boxer, so I want more money. So what I'll do is I'll fight you for free. Now I'm not interested in the money now. It means nothing. We come to the UK and I'll fight you for free. And I think he said like next week or something, come and fight next. So just piss off, man, will you? Oh, and also at the fight last night, Philadelphia rapper Meek Mill.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Well, he was getting all a bit hyped up about his boy Tank, and he was cheering for Tank. I think he might have been a little bit laid off the Duce because he was getting very aggressive in the crowd, and he was shouting out that the knockout was coming. And Gary Russell Jr., known for being a hater of most more successful fighters than him, was chirping back at him in the crowd, saying that it was going the distance. And the two of them got into an exchange where Meek Mill said, "I'll sock you for real," and then tried to get to Gary Russell Jr., not knowing that he was a fucking pro fighter as well, by the way. So the guy Wallow...
Is that Gary's one fight of the year now, then?
Yeah, I think so. Well, it didn't even quite happen because Wallow from the $1 Million a Game podcast, I think he got in the way and diffused the situation, but it actually stopped the fight momentarily, didn't it? So fucking led to a delay in the action. So Meek Mill, and by the way, if you can search out on Twitter, I should have clipped it, some footage of Meek Mill doing boxing training. He might want to think twice about fucking saying to pro fighters that he's going to sock him for real. But maybe he felt safe with the fucking 150 security that were around him, that way.
I think there was too much Henny on the go there last night, but it sounds it.
There's a little bit of tug passing at play, Andy. I think you could be right, dude.
Fucking walk up to pro fighters. I'll fuck you up. Aye, right, okay. I told you a story about that flyweight boxer back in the day in the pub, and he was getting all the shitty abuse, and he's just when the wee guys fucking hit you, man, and this guy didn't even fucking blink. He just hit him with a right hand, one shot, and down he went. This guy thought he was a big man. Fucking, I'll fucking knock you out. You're washed up. You're not a fucking fighter.
Remember the young guy?
Remember see it coming?
Remember the young guy that fucking approached Rocky Lockridge outside the fucking liquor store? He ended up fucking horizontal. Yeah, it's not the best plan, man.
Yeah, fucking Jesus, man.
As Ryan Deal says, imagine you start a fight on a Russell brother and suddenly there's 9 of them.
You just walk up, you're like, Gary Russell, I want to beat your ass.
Yeah.
There's Gary Russell.
Step away, Gary.
Gary.
Oh, dear. Right. Let's have a quick rundown then. So we had the guy from the Pacquiao, what was he, Mike Yancey. Good start from him on the video. We had the transgender boxing and all the associated nonsense after that. We had the undisputed condoms with Zab Judah. We had Billy Pickles and Dave Allen not fighting each other. We had Fight of the Year. We had the John Fisher, Sharon Courtney, bit of boshing going on there. We had the Slim Down Baturbia versus Yard. We had AB calling out Pro Grey. We had Isaac Warrior Low calling out the Romford Pele. We had Marcus Morrison with his hair transplant. Gervonta Davis and Connor Ben going at it on social media. Eddie getting involved as well. Teofimo Lopez and Rougarou. That's Regis Prograis. We had Barry McGuigan comparing Savannah Marshall, or Clarissa Shields rather, to Sugar Ray Leonard. We had the Don King card. And we had Hayden H. Bombright with the last hurrah. The old book title is on the line. A reasonable week this week, Andy. Who are you going for?
Well, I really like the fact that Eddie's trying to kind of talk Tank Davis the A side up to 147. Conor Ben will do what he's told. He'll take that fight. Trust me. At 147, 154, fucking whatever weight, it's just not going to happen. But I really want to get to Isaac Lowe for adding in fucking Ray Parlour, man. What the fuck is he all about, man? I sent Steve another link for Isaac Lowe, but it's going to get kept on to next week, so we'll leave that for then. So we could maybe see Isaac Lowe having 2 awards within the space of a fortnight. So I'm going to go for Isaac Lowe, mate.
Yeah, it's a toss-up between Isaac Lowe for
R.I.P. Pelly.
And tagging in Ray Parlour and Hayden H. Bombright for the old book title. Who are you going for this week, Matty?
Oh, I kind of want to go with the Don King fight poster. I don't even know if we put that one in for the fucking belly, but
fucking Matrix Sprinter.
I don't even think there's a Ukrainian in there. What the fuck's going on? I don't know, but yeah, I'm going with that one.
Yep, yeah, that's a Don King fight poster from Matty. Who are you going for, Rob?
Well, Maddie said, I don't think there's a Ukrainian in there. He sounded like those far-right protesters that are huddling outside the buses for the poor lads coming over to Ireland at the moment. I quite want...
They're all Syrians with a fucking paint job.
Oh, fuck. I missed me fucking golden nomination. The one I wanted to nominate was fucking... not Mrs. Kelly for a change. Future Mrs. Tank Davis in her fucking retracted statement that she made about calling 911 too hastily in an emotional situation. I don't know if anyone saw the fucking pictures that Gervonta posted to Instagram, but there were him posing in the mirror, taking a photo in the mirror with his shirt all ripped, and writing on the mirror that looked like hater at the start, but when you look closer, it said cheater and slut. And then in the next frame on his since deleted Instagram story, he posted a picture of his 2 toothbrushes.
Yeah, with shit on us.
With shit on them. So, a woman scorned an oil tank. Got to keep it in the pants, baby. You can't be having shit on the toothbrush, baby. So, the missus is getting half on whoever fucking put the shit on Gervonta Davis's fucking toothbrush is getting a nomination. Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, good stuff. Gervonta Davis with the shit on the toothbrush from Rob, and Guido versus Tavern poster from Matty, but it is in fact the Romford Pele himself, and also Isaac Warriorlow for their double act this week. You are the Bellew of the Week for episode 505. Congratulations to you. Also, quick shout out to John Mulhall for his Patreon contribution, for his Super Chat contribution, rather, and to Adam Hughes, Gary Taylor, and Joshua for doing bits over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Join us if you wish. Back to you, Matty. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Steve. I want to thank Andy for coming in, as well as Rob Kelly, everybody in the chat today, all the people that are on our Patreon. Go ahead and join the fun. We have that prediction league starting up again, first season of the year. Going to be trying to do 4 of them. You hop in the Patreon, we throw you in the Messenger, and we can handle the rest from there. We are looking forward to the heavyweight action this week. Actually could be a pretty entertaining top-ranked card, as well as that Adam Lopez and Abraham Nova fight on there. And then we'll be coming back the week after that for a preview of Chris Eubank Jr. against Beefy. So that looks to be maybe an interesting go for the start of the year. Hopefully we have some more fun stuff that happens between then and now. But until that point, I've been your host, Matt DeGelinardo. You folks have a fantastic week ahead and a happy and prosperous year as well.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't it? 7-year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.